Hello, everyone, and welcome to podcast number 48 right here on Smashbox TV. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. Also joined here back in studio is Johnny V. Well, your studio. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
Guess who's back?
Back again.
We're here, and it had a few technical difficulties this evening, and I think we've worked through them, so you're going to be getting a sweet single shot of us throughout the entire night. No divider, I know. You can't put me in a box or baby in a corner or any of that.
I'm going to box you out.
I don't know. We're looking forward to a very exciting show. We've got a couple of things lined up for everyone, including a conversation with our now three-time women's world champion in Paige Pierce. And we're also going to be in a few moments here catching up with Nate Heinold of the Ledgestone Insurance Open. Of course, we are coming off the Worlds. However, the Ledgestone event has been highly anticipated for many, many months. It's going to have an enormous payout and a ton of different amenities and other things to go along with it. And that's going to be our next live broadcast. So certainly something that we're going to be moving into in just a few days. What?
You got some plastic thing. I don't know what this is.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh, it's part of
Like
the
a
bag
plastic
that was attached at some point to my player's pack. I don't know.
I'm looking at your earphones, the LSTN ones.
Yep,
I actually just read an article about them
You did?
in one of my tech magazines about whether or not, the whole
social causes
type of thing can really get things moving and that type of stuff. So
Well, I guess I'll ask, did it say anything about as to if there's a downside to it or if it's just not really doing the efforts they were hoping for?
They specifically talked about LSTN and how they originally got their start and everything like that. And I just skimmed the article. I bookmarked it to go back and read later. So
Bookmark to read later. What an idea.
I know.
That's something people can do. Something else you can do is you can watch us in 720 quality here, HD quality.
Yeah.
Anytime you're watching any Smashbox TV broadcast, you can usually do it in 720. And of course, if you're listening in on the podcast, we appreciate that. Give us a few thumbs up or likes or 5 stars, whatever ratings you need to for cat paws. I don't know. I'm sure. I don't know. I made that up, but I'm guessing there's a site
Is that your tiger listening or something?
I'm sure there's a site that allows you to give a number of cat paws, and cats have 4 paws, so I would like 4 paws. Okay, maybe not. So we're glad you guys can be here tonight. And as I said, I guess we could get right to it. We've got people out there listening in, and we're going to get right to our first guest. Hopefully he's ready to go. And let's welcome Nate Heinold to the show. Nate, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Just peachy. How about you, Terry?
I'm doing like yourself. I'm in full game mode, getting back from Crazy World Championships, as did you.
Who between the two of us, who had the lower score? I don't remember.
I don't know. Let's put it this way: higher score equals higher IQ. And I'm going to go with that for the week. How's that sound?
All right. Okay, that's cool.
So you, on our podcast, are calling Paul Macbeth a dummy.
No, because after he played a final 9 plus an extra round,
did he have a better lower score than you had higher? Who beat who? Were you more plus or was he more negative?
I think Paul could have played another 18.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know, do you?
No, he's definitely more negative than I was plus.
I think Paul could have played 18 more holes and still been better than Terry. So
like total score, yeah.
No, yeah, I bet you. Well, let's go look.
We'll look at it later with Dana.
I will bet he played an extra 18 holes plus an extra 9 holes, and he probably still had a lower total score than I did.
Oh,
because he had me by 50 or so going into Saturday. So if he played Saturday morning, which he of course played well, and then he plays Saturday afternoon, that's another 20 or 30 strokes. Whatever. Paul,
it was a lot.
He's good, I guess. So Nate, you had some exciting news. Our friend Jenny Cook.
What are you doing now? Seriously,
tell us.
Do you not ever rest?
No, I'm in like the midst of like 12 straight days of like 18 to 20 hour days. So I'm very tired. I'm past my bedtime today. So
yeah.
But I have this stack sitting here of a partial of the player pack for Ledgestone actually, and we were finalizing the player pack for Ledgestone, and I've kind of announced some of the stuff in it, And then I got word from Discraft today. Well, I'll just show a couple of the discs and stuff before
he's teasing.
I'll tease. So this is only like half the player's pack, by the way. This is 7 discs and a personalized metal mini. So they get a personalized metal mini.
Is there a media pack?
They get no. There's no. Terry gets free lodging for the week.
Ooh,
so
okay.
at Casa de Heinold. So
I like the
free
sound
food.
Of that. Okay.
So I think that's better than a bunch of discs that he doesn't need. So
True.
But there's this DGA Steady, and there's this new DGA brand new Farrah Driver Overstable.
Okay.
A Secret Weapon by ABC. We have a Deuce Squad stamped custom D3. We have this sick TI Flex Zone. We have a sick TI Flex Meteor. We have a special crank. And then there's a couple more discs. There's a shirt and raceable scorecard and a personalized towel. And then we are actually releasing a brand new 13-speed driver prototype for the tournament. So I think it's called the Nate, but we haven't quite finalized it for sure. So
you haven't Heinolized it yet. Hey-o.
Oh, God. I think you need to win at least 1 or 2 world championships before they start naming discs after you, buddy.
Or get better than 87th at Worlds. So maybe like top 50 maybe then. So
if it's called the Nate and it's got a picture of Doss, then I'd believe it.
Yeah,
but
just call it. Might be called the Nate. Sure. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely not called that. So, but it's just a prototype for now. And they're literally finishing it this Thursday and stamping it. So it'll be in my possession on Tuesday. So
the big announcement is that Discraft will have a brand new, unreleased. Do you know what type of plastic it's in?
I'm not even sure they've even
finalized
decided,
that.
But probably ESP plastic if I had to guess.
If you had to guess. Okay, so we'll just say right now a brand new elite plastic type disc.
Yes.
To debut at the Ledgestone.
Wow.
It'll be
made out of cardboard.
I think it's a 13-speed driver. It's 12 or 13, so I think it's 13. So
all right,
but very fast.
Have you heard anything about disc characteristics? Is it a little more flippy? Is it more overstable? What's
it's going to be probably, I would say, more beginner friendly than a Nuke or a Force. So it's not going to be a roller disc, but it's not going to be an overstable disc like a Force.
So maybe something between an Avenger and a Nuke.
No, I would say even less stable than that, probably.
Less stable.
They're going old school.
Cool.
Probably.
They're going Scott Stokely XL style.
Oh, nice.
I'm just saying he held the world record with an XL. Obviously prior to that, the X Clone.
Yep.
200.01 meters. I mean, I don't know. And Stokely's making a return. He may not be on Team Discraft right now, but I don't know. They might be kicking it old school.
Sure.
Maybe call it the double XL.
Is that the Terry disc?
Simmer down.
Hey-o.
Whoa. Well, we are releasing it as a prototype for now, so Discraft is actually going to ask for feedback at the event because the disc is not even approved yet. So
everyone's clear. You won't be able to use that disc at the Ledgestone. It will come in your player's package. Yeah. Get out, throw it, test it for your practice rounds. Do not pull that out during the round, or Terry will find you on camera and stroke you,
beat you down,
or beat you down if you want to go that way. We do want to say that now. Is it true? I heard this from a reliable source.
Not me.
The only reliable source I usually have, that Discraft waited to announce this on our podcast.
Yes.
Wow.
I talked to Bob actually called me and we talked about how we let people know about it, and the first choice was the best 2 looking guys on disc golf YouTube podcasts Tuesday 9 p.m. slot. So
awesome.
9 p.m. Central, that is, of course.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Sorry. So,
because you never know when somebody else might come up with a podcast at 8 p.m. Central.
Yes. We'll talk about those competitors later.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Well, that's very exciting. We appreciate that Discraft entrusts us and the Smashies to get kind of first wind of this news. That is really exciting. As you said, It won't be able to be used in play, but the fact that people are going to be getting it firsthand at the Ledgestone. Now, this is not the same disc that they're seeing, obviously, that's coming out in the Ace races that they do, correct?
So, yeah, the Ace Race disc is kind of a straight thrower putter. So obviously that's a putter. This is a high-speed driver.
Yep.
Just to clarify, once again, it's not PDGA approved. It's just a prototype. We have a tentative name, but we're not going to probably stamp that on the disc yet, just in case we change our minds and don't want to do the Nate. So,
okay.
But they legitimately have a name in mind. So, but we're going to keep that just kind of fluid. So,
okay.
For next week, you're going to keep that for until next week when you announce the name on our podcast.
Yes.
We could just have something bigger. We could just have something bigger next Tuesday. Like, who knows? So,
I don't know. Who knows?
All right,
Nate. Well, that is really exciting news. However, I think we have world champions in the queue.
Yeah, I think they're more.
Not yet, but we're getting there.
Well, we're going to have some world champions. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the world? By this time next week, Ledgestone chaos will be starting to set in, and I know you're going to be working hard for it, and I'm going to be arriving in our camera crews, and there's just going to be a million other little pieces that are falling into place by then. You'll be 3 or 4 days into it with all of your staff and your crew. So anything you'd like to say until we talk to you next week again on the air?
Yeah, I would it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of activities going on, so we're getting a lot of questions. And so I always tell people just to go out to the website, lasopen.com, and they'll answer most of your questions. All the schedule is there with all the events we have going on, the dinners, the parties.
The caddy guides.
The extra events, the caddy guides. We're building a huge scoreboard for the event that'll be out there. So we have a lot of exciting things happening. We're doing live scoring for every group on Friday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
and are there spots available?
There is one spot available in open right now, and a few spots in female open, and a couple in Grandmasters and Masters. No amateur spots are available at this point in time, but it's very fluid. I mean, people are changing their minds, and stuff like that. So it is fluid. So
okay. And it may be too late by the time you're listening to this, but if you have requested a refund, one of dozens, or you're changing or whatever, that goes from Nate to myself, and we've both been incredibly busy. So if you're waiting on your refund from me, you'll get it soon. That's all I can say to that. That's my little PSA.
He's been trying to win the World Championships.
Yeah,
so.
I know. You'll get your refund after I win the Worlds.
It was close.
I'm sorry, that was too much. All over the top.
Whatever.
Well, I guess I will see Terry next week, and Johnny will be on the air, and we'll
be
look
in
forward
contact.
to have live coverage on Friday and Sunday, I think, or I should maybe nope, don't say that. So
yeah, for sure, Friday and Sunday is the plan. Maybe Saturday. I don't know. We got a few things to work out. For next week, but we're looking forward to a really solid and exciting time with our broadcasting and with our recorded coverage that's going to get posted under the Disc Golf Guy channel, and everything else that's going to make up the Ledgestone. So we're really looking forward to it, and I know you're looking forward to it being done. So
yes,
coming and going, you want all of it.
It'll be a fun time. So
all right, thanks a lot, Nate. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the announcement. Everybody, be on the lookout for that next week. That you can. We'll talk next week about the whole registration, all that other good stuff, and what we can expect. So, Nate,
all right.
Have yourself a good one, and we are going to get online with Dynamite.
All right, see ya. All right, as Nate had said, they've been working really hard. Obviously, there's been a few dozen different discs and types of plastics that Discraft has been working with Nate in terms of fundraising for the Ledgestone.
Yeah, they seem to have just rolled out. I don't want to say they've rolled out everything for him, but because I'm hoping they save something for next year. When we get those new Glow Elite X clones you were hinting at.
I know.
Just saying.
We did also just catch wind a second ago. I caught wind a moment ago, I should say. Paige Pierce said that she's going to be ready to be joining us on the show. So obviously we're going to catch up here with Dynamite.
Yep.
And then once we're done talking to Dynamite, we're going to move on to his teammate in Paige Pierce. So let's jump right over to it and move on to Dana Vici. Hopefully he can turn down his
Hopefully
volume.
Turned down his volume by now.
I don't know. Who
Clearly
knows?
watching the podcast.
All right, Nate. Well, that is really
All right,
exciting news.
Dana.
However, I think we have world
Not your
champions.
first time.
So not yet. But we're
This
getting,
is
well,
for
we're going to have some world champions.
Dana, do you hear us?
Any final thoughts that you'd like?
Hey, Dana. You
Hi. We all
turn
see you.
We all see you staring at us. So although you're behind us, we're ready for you to be on the show.
Yeah. Dana.
What?
Oh,
Oh.
there you go. You were watching us, and we went to you, and we were getting feedback. So I muted you for a bit, but we're back. We're here. This is seeing how this is your first week on the podcast. We can probably explain to you how this works.
Yep. You talk.
We listen.
Yeah.
So wait, I'm live on the internet right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are, even with your haircut.
Yeah, beautiful haircut, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Some really nice. Yeah, I told you didn't want the first thing your kid to be seeing. Congratulations, by the way. I don't think we've spoken since you. I don't think we've had you on the air since you've had your child. Have we?
Thank you.
I think we've just congratulated him one week, and then last week was Shasta and Zoe,
Maybe.
and this week we've got Dana.
Congrats,
Yeah.
buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get going too far, Paul Macbeth, he threw 356 times over 6 rounds and 9 holes in the final 9. So that's what's 18 times 6? Someone tell me that. Plus 9. That's how many holes he played. Terry Miller. All right, so that's Paul Macbeth.
If I averaged
356.
70 a round over 5 rounds, that means I averaged about 350, but I didn't quite average 70. I had a 75, a 72, a 70, a 69. I finally broke. Shoot, I bet you he beat me. Darn it.
Oh, it's close.
He beat
One
you by
stroke.
1.
Oh, gosh, second place in the world.
So you threw 357 times in 5 rounds. He threw 356 times in 6 rounds and a final 9.
6.5.
6.5 rounds.
Next
and
year.
and we'll say this: no offense to his competition, he coasted those last 9 holes.
Yeah, I mean,
he had 0 birdies.
Yeah,
He had 2 eagles, but he had 0 birdies.
So bring it, Macbeth. Would you say I have him pretty much like right where I want him for next year, Dana?
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely, start take the Stokely route. Start posting on Facebook. Challenging him.
Yeah. I mean, if I was on his card, I'd probably just call him a bunch of foot faults, and then I'll catch up to him real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, never mind.
I'll second it. If we're in a car together, we will make sure. All I know is Macbeth 4-peat only because Dana couldn't be there. I mean,
I don't. You know what?
I would blame. You're going to blame your lovely daughter.
This could have been your year.
This was your year to be. This was your year, and now you have something to hold over her forever.
We will never know. Now that you bring that up, Johnny, I'm gonna ground her.
It's a good
There
call.
you go.
She's a girl. You'll want to ground her until she's 18 anyway.
Yeah.
Don't worry. So let's get into a little bit of stuff about Worlds because we got Paige chomping at the bit here to get talking to us. We got a lot of stuff. So, spoiler: Paul Macbeth won.
Barely edging me out.
Yeah,
That's fair to say.
by 1 stroke.
Yeah. Yes. And it was. I mean, we'll use one of your terms, which isn't quite your term, but the whole going ham, I think, is something that could be said about halfway through the week. Was it that he went off, or that others peaked, or a combination of the two, or what do you think happened there, Dana?
He straight up went off. I've played those courses. They're very hard. Some of the holes might have a couple too many trees here and there, so that adds in another factor. Not a lot, but maybe a couple, maybe 1 or 2 holes per course. So I mean, that's another factor to throw in. He straight up demoralized the rest of the field. I watched a lot of the coverage from Prodigy McFly and Central Coast Disc Golf. Thank you to both of those outfits for being there and allowing me to enjoy it. I dabbled in the live with Disc Golf Planet TV, and one thing that really stood out was Paul. If the few times he would throw an errant drive, would just throw an incredible second shot and then hit a 50-foot putt for birdie if it was a par 4, or he would get up and down. But throw it patent pending, standstill, cut roller, and then hit the putt and all the other. When you're playing against that and you're throwing great drives and great shots and making, doing it, throwing beautiful shots and making your birdie putts, or miss, God forbid, miss a birdie putt, and Paul shanks and then throws an incredible shot and hits a big putt in your face. It's slightly demoralizing. And he going 51-51 on those two courses, that was him winning the tournament. That wasn't about anyone else not playing well. That was him being Paul McBeth, being the best disc golfer in the world.
Well, you just can't keep up with that.
No.
I mean,
not consistently.
No.
Like Paul, Will, who started out very well in the event, shot a 51 in the second round. So on Wednesday, I believe he shot that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall which.
Must have been Slippery Rock.
Slippery Rock.
Yep.
For
Slippery
them.
Rock.
Yeah, and that's a 1086. And
Yep.
Will just had he had one round rated under 1,000, which was round 5. By then, it was, I hate to say it, was already kind of decided.
Yeah,
And
definitely was.
Just Will's 51 versus two 51s from Paul. Paul just demoralized the field. I mean,
and with that, I don't know if you found this today or not. I came across it from someone else, and I've got to give all credit, I believe, to Marty Gregoire. I'm pretty sure he's the one that actually constructed this. No, it was in fact Zach, our boy Zach over at All Things Disc Golf. I'm going to steal a few details because this was posted to the PDGA.com, and I'm sure on allthingsdiscgolf.com.
Yeah, and while you say that, Zach did a really good job with his write-ups all week.
Yeah, he always. Yeah, he always does.
Yeah, him and I were in communication a little bit that week, and he was telling me about some of the stuff he was writing, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm going to steal a few of his amazing research here, and he says that his first bogey in 60 holes, 59 straight holes. McBeth carding something at par or better. In fact, out of 117 holes, which includes the final 9, McBeth had 4 bogeys, 40 pars, 67 birdies, and 6 eagles.
More eagles than bogeys.
That's disgusting. And the fact that he had 67 birdies, 40 pars. He had 4 bogeys in 117 holes of golf. I could take
I went to Estabrook the other day, had more than 4 bogeys.
And that's not a hard course.
It's not a very hard course. It's actually harder now, but whatever.
So it's just when you put together those stats, 67 birdies and 6 eagles. And when we're, Dana, you've played there. We've talked about the courses enough to know we're talking about taking a birdie on a par 4 that's 790 feet and through some trees. Or even if it's 790 feet wide open. We're not talking about, he's throwing a 323-foot shot. He's getting a 2 on it. We're talking about, a shot you need to place. You need to place a second shot. You need to make a putt.
Yep.
And you're birdieing those. And there's every style of shot out there, actually.
Forehands. I saw forehands, backhands. Moraine, I saw a ton of rollers out there. These guys were throwing at least off the tee 3 rollers, I believe I counted. So,
yeah, the fact that he had so many shots under par and so few over par is just amazing. And obviously, you add up all the numbers and that's how you win a Worlds. But the sheer consistency and dominance that he showed throughout the week, and he kind of started slow. I mean, he was 3 off the pace.
He definitely, after Schustrick shot his hot 51, round 3, Schustrick went 54 and McBeth 59, and all of a sudden it's like, I wonder. Looks like Schustrick's gonna go off here, and then it was just 51-51 and off to the races.
I remember asking his caddy, John Tompkins, who now has to get yet another addition to his tattoo, because the bet was last year if he won his third Worlds, John Tompkins would have to get a tattoo. He got a tattoo, and now it's kind of an ongoing thing that if he continues to win Worlds, he has to either add to it or get another one.
And Paul pays for that, I'm hoping?
I think he does.
Okay.
And one of the things I had said to Tompkins was, I said, what was this 51? This was after the first one. I said, what was the 51? Give me a little, because I wasn't out there, and so I didn't get to see it. I don't know if the whole world did actually at first. And he said he just looked at me kind of with a funny grin. He said he hit every line. And that's a scary thought. If Paul McBeth is hitting every line he's trying to, you can't really, then you're looking to just hold on and not have him blow you out by 10 or more, let alone trying to keep up with him. And I will say real quickly, Paul, we reached out to Paul. Paul knew that we wanted to have him on the show tonight. He did some testing. We didn't think that the Skype connection was going to be strong enough to give us a really good signal. So obviously we're going to have him back on the show as soon as we possibly can. But we did reach out to him, and there was a conversation there, and he wanted to join us. It just didn't seem like it was really going to work out tonight. So we're going to have to deal with another world champ instead.
We got the bigger story.
I know.
I know Paul's 4-time is pretty big, but I think we got the bigger story this week, which is what we should be doing. Any
funny nicknames you've managed to wrangle up there now that he's a 4-time champ, along with the McBeast, the McFour-Pete, the Mc anything?
Yeah, other than throwing the 4 in there instead of the...
Well, and then I think it was Murder Mike that put something out there. Maybe it was somebody else. If he wins next year, they just change the S to a 5.
Yeah.
And then they can go, the 6 is moved closer up into the C, and someone had it all the way up to 8 or 9. So
they should probably get those ready.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, at this pace, I mean, a lot of these guys that we're seeing up at the top with Paul, Rick and Will, Nico, Brinster, Rico, Yuli, they're gonna have to step it up,
they're
and
chasing.
really train hard this off season and try to catch up with Paul, because they're all obviously great players, best players in the world, but Paul right now is just week in and week out proving to be so much better, and it's
You feel he's at another level? I mean, and that's maybe a dumb question at this point, but maybe not. Do you feel he's just genuinely at an additional level than every other player?
I say yes, only because of the consistency. All those guys that I named off, and then a handful more, they all have incredible skill in the shots, but the consistency that Paul has shown, especially in majors, it's not there, and that's no disrespect to any of those guys.
No.
It's just looking at the numbers. What I'm going to do here over this next week, when I get some time, hopefully, is I'd like to go through each one of Paul's rounds and see what his inside the circle putting was from the World Championships, and then outside the circle. Because I watched most of his rounds, and he didn't miss very many putts.
No, he didn't. No, I think that's really what set him even that much higher up. You'd watch. Will had his struggles at one point. Ricky had his struggles at another point. I guess you could call Paul's struggles early in the tournament. The first 2 rounds round 1 and 3, where he shot a 10.45 and a 10.35.
Yeah.
But I think I saw him miss 1 or 2 there, but it didn't seem like after that he missed any. He just, other than I think one in the finals when he was again kind of cruising, but
yeah,
it was fun to watch. Just how good he is.
Unless you're trying to beat him.
Yeah, it's fun to watch from behind the TV. I'm sure any of those other guys wouldn't mind. Almost any of them wouldn't mind watching, as long as they're not playing against him.
Yeah.
If they were strung up for some reason and couldn't play. But yeah, when you're on that card, you could see it. And I'm not going to any disrespect to Will. You could see it. You could see when he was beat.
Yeah.
He had a demeanor that he just you saw his shoulders kind of slump. And you could tell he was struggling, and watching Paul demolish the course probably didn't help. And it just...
There was just no keeping up.
There was no keeping up, and I think he knew it. And he just kind of had a looked like a sigh, like a round long sigh, just like this again, But we're coming up to Will's tournament at the USDGC, and if Macbeth gets the USDGC, he's got the Grand Slam. He'll have won every major this year.
That should prove to be a good battle.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah, it's always a great battle. So let's get into some of the other divisions. Let's skip the women, because we're going to be talking to Paige here shortly. So can we go into another field, like maybe Masters, Dana?
I hear there was
Masters had quite a bit of excitement, and I'm not referencing the foot fault stuff that went on during the semifinal round. There was quite a few players that found themselves in the lead early on. Jay Redding, he came out pretty hot with back-to-back really strong rounds going 10:45, 10:20, and that had him in first place. And I was pretty hyped up for Yeti, and he hung on there for a little bit until Patrick Brown decided to start playing. And Patrick, he started out a little slow with the 997 rated first round, but then went 1036, 1049, 1049, and vaulted himself into first place. All the while, we had Mike Mosier, who I've talked about, that was one of my picks to actually win the Masters division. He was kind of hanging around too. And then, of course, the champ, Ken Climo, he kind of made his way slowly towards the top. And, Patrick was actually beating him going into the semis, if I recall correctly. And Climo beat him by 3 and then beat him by 4 in the finals. So rounding out the top 5, it was Ken Climo, Patrick Brown, Mike Mosier, and Jay Yeti Redding tied. Scott Stokely ended up in 5th place, and he would have tied or have been in the showcase final 9 had it not been for 2 or 3 foot fault calls that he was stroked for, and those penalty strokes bumped him out. So interesting stuff there.
It was, and unfortunately, we could dedicate an entire podcast probably just to the calls, rules in general.
Yeah.
But the calls, the foot faults, all of those different things. But the long and short of it was Stokely was playing. I believe that's the longest hole on the course, actually. That's, I want to say like hole 11 or something like that. 9 and 11. I think that's hole 11. And it's one of the longer holes on the course. And he had thrown. He was called on a foot fault. He was then through again. He was called on another foot fault. At that point, you're getting penalized. And as you said, when it was all said and done, it had cost him an extra stroke or 2, and he missed out on the finals. He had then taken some video evidence and took it out to Facebook and put it out there for everybody to see. And then there was another angle that was actually released, so to speak. And then Stokely had said some other things. I mean, it's kind of blown up and really taken on a life of its own. We're not going to get into all of it tonight just because we have, maybe on a really slow night, we could give you a whole podcast on it. But tonight, that's relatively secondary. But it was certainly interesting to see. Seeing the older regime, I mean, those are the good old boys. Stokely and Climo battled for world titles back in the 90s, and here we are in 2015, and they're playing semifinal rounds together and just a few strokes off of one another. So certainly interesting, as Johnny V and others have said, yes, out on Reddit and also on Disc Golf Course Review and on Facebook. There's plenty of stuff you can go catch up on.
If you want to put your opinion out there or get everybody else's opinion, right or wrong, Reddit and Disc Golf Course Review are the place to be.
Yes, so those are available, but Stokely coming up just a bit short and not making it into the finals. I'll say this, Stokely has come on really strong as of late.
Yeah.
I think we were in this very podcast arena a few months ago, and when we talked about his finish even in the Masters, I had kind of dismissed a finish that's as strong as he had. So for him to finish 5th and to play solid golf, it looks like he definitely averaged over 1,000 golf all week, probably closer to 10-15 golf, at least by what I'm quickly looking at, probably close to 10-15 golf. Very impressive by Scott Stokely, and again came up just a little bit short. So pretty crazy stuff.
And then I should mention that there was a guy named Tom, I don't really know him, Tom Carrillo, from Colorado, who's a 978 rated Masters player. He was on the lead card for most of the week, playing some really solid golf. He kind of fell off there during the semifinal round and dropped into a tie for 7th place with Jonathan Baldwin. But Tom Carrillo from Colorado was a name that you might have saw up top all week that you didn't quite hear before. So good shooting to Tom. That had to be a thrill for him to be in contention for the world title through 4 or 5 rounds there.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned him. He's actually good friends with my roommate and super amazing sponsor and buddy, and Dave Wastebloom from Night Eyes. And I had lunch with Tom Carrillo early on in the week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had lunch with him, and we caught up. A couple other of us all grabbed something to eat together. And Tom, lefty, if I recall, and like you said, from Colorado, and super nice guy, and had a pretty outstanding week for himself. So it was really good to see, and like you said, big props to him for an outstanding performance here at the Worlds. Any other major surprises? We can read through a few of the other winners real quickly. Any other major surprises that you saw out there, Dana?
Oh, surprises? Not quite. Well, one, Sarah DeMar. She won the Masters Women division. It was only a division of 6, but I didn't quite realize that Sarah was Masters age. She doesn't look it.
She very much does not look it. Yes.
So good job, Sarah. But she played some pretty solid golf and cruised to a very easy victory over Annie Kreml,
who was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff there for Annie. Second place and then a Hall of Fame induction. Where's Annie from?
California, out in
California. Okay,
yep.
She's been around for.
She's been playing Ultimate forever. She had played Ultimate forever. She's been touring around, traveling, playing disc golf just about forever. Her PDGA number is 7879. So she signed up, mid to early 90s and has been a real staple in any pro women's division and then eventually into the age-protected years. But very, very exciting to see her inducted into the PDGA Hall of Fame over the weekend as well.
Yep. No big surprise in the Grandmasters, Joey Mela?
No. Obviously competition is getting tougher there.
Yep, you could have argued Ron Converse could have taken it. There was...
Mitch Mack is definitely
down there.
Legacy's own Jerry Goff, as in Jaredog.
Jaredog was on the lead card for a while.
Yeah,
but
Jim Oates. Jim Oates has won countless Grandmasters world titles. So
Jim Schultz, Mike Rayleigh, Luna, Kirk Hagedorn. I mean, that's a really fun group when you look at all those different names and people.
And this is Joey's second world title.
Oh, is that it?
I believe it's only a second in Grandmasters. I don't know about other. I don't know if he's won a Masters one or not, but I had seen it was 2-time.
Oh, I would guess even more.
I would have guessed
I'd
that
have
too.
to do the math.
But, yeah.
So congratulations! I saw him as we were leaving for the entire weekend at the gas station, and he's like, "Hey, I didn't even see you all week." I'm like, "No, I didn't see you, but congrats!" I didn't really see him till he was crowned and everything. And he's known as the technician. He helps oversee the course in Bucks County up at Tyler State Park, and just one of the most beautiful courses you could ever play in all of disc golf. And he works really, really hard to make it as beautiful as it is with the rest of the Tyler guys up there.
Yeah.
And, Sandra Frazier, the Frazier Invasion.
The Frazier Invasion,
as we used to say, that is an entire family of golfers. Sandra, her husband David, and then they had 3 girls, if not 4. I don't know if I can name them all, but they all, one of her in her speech, she had said, a couple of my girls have won world championships before. Now I finally have one to put on the mantle next to them.
Yeah, I don't think none of them have won in a pro division. I think they have some juniors and advanced. Did one win the advanced?
In 2007 at the Worlds here in Wisconsin. Yep.
That's what I thought.
So pretty exciting there. And then the only person to play every World Championships, all 34 of them.
Someone on Dana's team.
Yep, Dana.
Dave Greenwell.
You got it. Now,
Dave Greenwell,
Grandmaster. All right.
Yeah. Dang. Let me ask this. There seems to be some confusion. We're going to slightly sidetrack for one question here is, did Dave help commentate during the finals or not? Or during...
I don't think so. I never heard him, but...
Somebody else said they did, and someone said they didn't, and I'm just looking for a clarification.
Caught up with him or talked with him for a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I was kind of in and out of that at some point. I know it sounds bad, but after about the first or second men's final hole, I kind of turned it off and walked away. And it was a victory lap for Paul, and I had some other things to take care of, and I really didn't. I'm like, I'll catch it later. There's no drama to this.
No.
So.
Okay. Do you have any idea, Dana? Somebody said he was commentating, and someone said he wasn't. I wasn't sure, but he was clearly going out and winning. So congratulations again over a couple of pretty amazing. I don't want to say legends, but legends of our sport, not legends divisions, but other legends in our game.
Oh, safe to say, yeah. Over Jay Gobrecht, Alan Beaver, and Levon Wolf, Kazo Shirai. That's three of those. Is Jay a Hall of Famer?
I don't think so, but I would believe there's probably a run at that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the other guys in the top 5 are all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right.
Good company to be in for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Congrats to Dave. It's good to see him shooting good and taking down a big victory. But yeah, no surprises as we move down, scroll down here on the results. Senior Grandmaster women. I don't really want to pronounce her name, but a young lady from Japan took that down. But unfortunately, Sylvia and Rick Vokes had to both withdraw from the event. Rick was having some health issues. Was it
kidney stones?
Kidney stones.
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Right after he had withdrawn on Wednesday. So.
Yeah. Then legends. Pete Shive, or however you say his last name, won. I don't know how many is this for him.
It's like his 80th World Championship.
Something like that. He hasn't been playing. He hasn't been. He's got a lot of titles.
He's got a lot of them in Legends and I think Senior Grandmasters. I think he's got one or two in there too. So at least.
Yeah. So might as well round out the rest of the winners while we're here. Senior Legends, Carlos Rigby took that down, and the Grand Legends. How old do you have to be to go Grand?
I think 85.
I think so. Yeah.
I think I heard it earlier in the week. It's either 80 or 85. It's either 80 or 85. Yes, that you have to be.
God bless them.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, I mean they put in 4 rounds, and we all know those courses. Thankfully those courses aren't as rough as they are for some of us. But I hope to be 85 and still throwing plastic.
And shooting 835 golf.
Yeah. That's not much worse than us right now.
Yeah, that's so.
Did you shoot an 835 rated round this week?
Not yet, but I'm surprised I didn't. So yes, very impressive. And as he
shot up way above his rating.
Yeah, 871, 853, 849, and 915.
That which is higher than I think one of your rounds.
Anyway. Okay, so the board is telling us you need to be 80 to be in Grand Legends. So 80, 85, either way, still very, very impressive. You need to be 80.
You guys think Brian Henniger would have known that off the top of his head?
He would have known that, but he should. He should. He should. What, the age? He would have, and he should, because he was a previous PDGA executive director.
Yeah.
So that's one little detail he should have known. I know a lot of useless details in disc golf and within our PDGA organization, but that one slipped my mind. So yeah, Henniger he would have known that. I wonder if he's still available to hire. Can we get him?
I think he's taken. We don't want to get yelled at by another crew for stealing their talent.
Oh yeah. We've been accused of such silly things. Anyway,
you don't want to get on UC's bad side.
No.
Well, that's about it from the World Championships. Is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on with me before you get to Paige?
Not golf related. No, just wanted to say congratulations and hope you're getting a lot of sleep. Hope
No, if you guys thought I used to look tired, I'm gonna be looking real tired here.
I figure hopefully this is like right after a nap. Like you take a nap from 7 to 9, and then you get up for the 9 to 11 or 12 shift, and then Ashley can take over. That's kind of how my wife and I did it for a little while. And
I can't feed my baby for technical reasons.
Yeah, I mean.
Terry will explain it to you.
For all you young kids, trust me, make sure she's pumping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then she can get some sleep and you can feed it.
There you go.
Hopefully. So.
Thanks for having me on, and I want to give a big hug Definitely a couple. I'm gonna throw out a few. It's big hugs to Sarah, Holcomb, and Paige. That was some stuff, some emotional stuff, and it was fun to watch and just insane. You guys are gonna get to that soon, and then I want to give a big hug to the rest of the MPO, the Open division. Everyone other than Paul Macbeth. So there's 143, 144, a couple quit. So I'm going to throw out about 139 or 140 big hugs to the Open division. And Terry, you almost had him.
Maybe just one stroke you got me by.
That'll be something to look forward to next year. Maybe what we could throw some bets down. Well, Terry's 5 rounds beat Paul's 6 in a final 9.
That is something to strive for, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe you'll practice a little,
No.
so you don't get.
No, I won't.
No.
No.
Well,
He's
all right.
good.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week at the Ledgestone.
Yep.
Yes, you will, pal. We're looking forward to it, and we'll catch up with you sometime next week, pal.
Thanks, Dana.
All right.
All right. That was, of course, our favorite Dynamite, Dana Vici, giving us a little bit of the updates. We didn't talk really about any other events going on throughout the weekend. Yeah, other people had things they could go do and possibly perform well on. I think it's Madison's account, which you may or may not have. And so that was part of what was going on. Obviously, the Worlds was kind of taking over taking over all of the news, as it should. And that's what we were focused on. So we're going to see if we can dial up our friendly world champion. She's going to be on the line in just a moment. And welcoming to the show our 3-time women's world champion, Paige Pierce. Heyo.
Bravo.
How you doing tonight?
Good. How are y'all?
We are good. Of course, thank you for joining us. And tell everybody, where are you at?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I am in Nantucket. There's a beach here this week, and we just got in town today, getting ready for it.
And if I know you and Madison, you guys probably created some kind of Instagram or Snapchat about being on a boat at some point. I'm just taking a guess. Was that ever done?
No, actually.
Maybe tomorrow, because they just rolled into Nantucket, so.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. I'm going to say I'm disappointed.
No, neither of us had anything to say to each other. We've been together too much, so we decided to watch a movie.
And what did you watch?
Man, it was crazy. It was with Kristen Wiig, so we thought it would be hilarious. But it was probably the weirdest movie I've ever seen in my life. It's called Welcome to Me.
Okay.
I don't know that I should even tell you because it's seriously, don't waste your time. But
oh, okay. So you're saying it was bad, though?
I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just
different.
strange.
Not like her normal kind of off the wall comedy kind of thing.
No.
Okay. Huh. Wow.
Right, that was your Netflix picks with Paige Pierce. Thanks, Paige. See you later. No.
All right, Paige. So it's been a couple days. You I believe even had dinner or lunch with your friend Sarah Holcomb yesterday. At least that's what she tried to get me off the phone with, and said that she was going to have dinner with you. But it's been a couple of days. Tell us how things have sunk in a little bit for you as you can kind of reflect on just the craziness that was last week.
I mean, it was, I don't know, it was a really crazy turn of events, and so at the time, like, emotions were high for sure, and that's not something that you want to talk about with a competitor. Sarah's
Sure.
one of my best friends, and the night before the finals, or the night before the semis.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday night, I couldn't sleep. I probably didn't go to sleep until like 3 a.m. because I just had this gut feeling that it was going to come down to one stroke, and that was the last thing I wanted. I wanted her to either be up by 20 or myself to be up. That way this decision wouldn't have to be made. And I don't know, I just had a feeling. And then, when my putt spit out on hole 5, if you saw it, well, you definitely saw it. But
I saw it too. I mean, that thing looked dead center. It looked like you hit the pole and came straight back at you.
Yeah, and the way I putt, I usually don't have spit outs like that because I putt very flat, so it hits a lot of chains. If I hit chains, it'll hit a lot of them. So I don't really have spit outs like that. And on that hole, she went out of bounds, and so that could have been me going up another stroke. And when that putt spit out, I couldn't. There was nothing to be done besides just like. I knew.
I don't know if you remember, but you turned around and walked away and kind of had your head down. I don't know if you're disappointed that the putt spit or that the situation was coming to a head.
Yeah, definitely the second one.
Yeah.
I mean, but and then I talked to Dawn very briefly, but he's not in her head, and that would be the last thing I would want to ask her. Me and Sarah, I think we've split every time. If it's been within one stroke, we always split. Like, hey, you want to split? Let's just make this about the title, nothing else. And we're good friends and competitors, and both of us want to win. But that's one question I would never ask her, which would be, what would you do if I laid up? And so I very briefly asked Don, and he just told me, I don't know what she would do, but just go play and see what happens. And that was on, I believe, hole 2 of the final 9. And like I said, on hole 5, I just knew it was going to happen. And so that's why I went for the putt I did on hole 7, was to try to increase the lead, or to be honest, like perfectly honest, I didn't care if I missed that putt.
Sure.
Because that would have meant Sarah would have won, and that was fine with me. So for me, that putt was kind of like, I don't know, indifferent. I was indifferent if I made it or not. And then on 8, Eric's kind of been my coach over the years, and I asked him on the tee shot how wide to go and whatever. And then when we got down to my drive, he's like, just lay it up. You got the easy 3. She got the 3 as well. Like, you don't need to hit this. And I ran it anyways because I wanted to be up 2 or go down the hill and be down by 2.
Yeah.
And he's like, why would you go for that? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't want to tell him, but
yeah. So you didn't tell Eric kind of what your thought process was at that point. He was.
Not at that point. After that hole, I did. Walking to the tee pad of hole 9, I told him.
And what was his reaction? What was his thought behind that? Just kind of like it's your decision, or did he try to talk you one way or the other?
I mean, he knows Sarah as well, and he knew that she wanted to win on talent. And and as much as I knew that too, it was just hard to look past how like unfortunate the situation was. And I don't know, it's something that's never happened before, and something that will probably never happen again. And so I did not know how to handle it, and
no,
it was crazy. But I mean, talking to Sarah afterwards, it definitely like helped like ease my mind, because she thought exactly what I thought she would think. And I don't know, it was just a sense of relief for sure, but it's still crazy.
I can't imagine a situation like this ever happening again, really, but B, the how torn you must have been in general that whole round. I mean, or that whole finals, between the whole thing with Sarah, knowing that she rightfully was up a lot of strokes a couple rounds ago, and then coming in and then fighting her way back. Just the moment, had she not been within 8 strokes and just kind of maintained, but then to literally fight her way back the next 3 rounds.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't on her card that round, But I remember, I was texting her that whole time, and she was telling me, okay, just pulled up, whatever. And so, like, as soon as before the round we had a meeting, it was very hectic chaos, and emotions were high on everybody's end.
When exactly did you find out what happened to her?
I would say about an hour to 45 minutes before our round started.
Okay.
And it was hearsay, and when you hear major car accident, not to be like unbelieving, but a lot of times people exaggerate.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
My first thought was call her, see, does she need a ride? Does what's going on? And she obviously doesn't answer. Then I walked by Rebecca Duffy, and she kind of fills me in. She was on the phone with Steve Gans, who had just went to go pick her up, and so I knew at that point there was nothing I could personally do. So I went up to my hole and started putting. I told Rebecca to call me as soon as she knew, because our hole was like quite a bit of a walk and up this hill from the parking lot. And I told Rebecca, just call me as soon as you know anything. I'll spread the message to like all the girls up here if we're going to wait for her. Whatever. 10-15 minutes goes by, Rebecca doesn't call. So I'm stressing out. I called Rebecca and just said, are we going to, she said she slotted to arrive at 10, what time was it? 12.
1:56. She was.
So 1:56. And I was like, well, that's 26 minutes. Like, can we wait? And Rebecca said, unfortunately, no, that's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And not like...
I know. No, it's just funny the way you said it, because there's been a lot of discussion about, on both sides of the coin, well, how come they didn't wait? They were the last group. It's not like there was anyone waiting for another round after them. And then there's some people, obviously, that are like, no, the rules are the rules. You start when you start. If this was someone that hadn't been on the first card or the second card, if this was someone in almost last place, would it matter? There's been these discussions all over. So just the way that you said that, I know you didn't mean it like that. It just kind of brought all those memories in.
Well, the putting basket, like the whole first and second card was putting there, and I just kind of like moved the phone to the side and was like, do you guys want to wait, or like what do y'all think? And everybody was in agreement. We're all good to wait, and if y'all don't wait, we're gonna protest and stand on the tee box and wait for her. And Rebecca did not like that comment, but I think we kind of got our point across, and they did delay this start time for at least 15 minutes. And as mad as I was at that decision, it was better than nothing. Looking back, she probably could have missed 4 holes if they didn't do that. But there was like a long meeting, and we all tried as best as we could to like accommodate to the situation, but like she said, it wasn't totally fair, but it's something that was out of anybody's control, and I think there should be a special provision for it in the future. But actually, Hokum's working on writing a rule for that. So.
Well, and I'll say this. I had a very, very long conversation with Sarah on Sunday night. I was traveling home from Pittsburgh, and I had reached out to her because there's been so many things that have been said, and you can read a million morons on whether it's Facebook, Disc Golf Course Review, Reddit, whatever, and you can read a million incorrect statements and just some, I hate to call them dumb opinions, but some really dumb opinions as well. And I called Sarah and I said, Sarah, I want, when I speak of the situation, I want to make sure that I'm talking about it correctly. So I want to make sure you and I are on the same page, or that I at least understand you or your thought process. And one of the things that we talked about was this rule, you're starting at 1:30, and I said, what do you think? And she said she more or less is okay with the idea of not necessarily starting it on time, but maybe the solution is that she would get to play them afterward. Maybe that's the solution, rather than delaying everyone possibly something could be, there could be a provision in the rules that she could maybe play them afterward. And I had said, without trying to sound like a jerk, of course, I had said, I think that's what you need to do is if there's anyone that could champion this rule, anyone that could head it up, you're in the position to do so, as it just affected you so much. I think you need to really think long and hard about if you were going to present a rule change to the PDGA, because everyone's going to say, well, yeah, the rule should be changed. And I said, everyone's going to ask you that, or you're going to want to reply with that. I think you need to reply with, the rule should be changed, and here's how. Yeah. So like you're saying, Paige, having her specifically come up with, what she feels like is a legitimate modification, I think is really important. I think that's great. Because, she was affected by it. So having her do that, I think, is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And it's tough because, as we all know, it was such a crazy scenario, and there's no doubt about it. Everyone on the planet is more than happy to hear that she's safe and that her well-being is there. But to have it all go down the way it did, and have the the severity of the situation and everything else, I mean, there's no way you can plan for anything like that, and it was definitely intense. Yeah. You played really well that round, going out, and during that, she had shown up, and I was there for all of it. I honestly originally planned on kind of bouncing back and forth between the first card and the second card, and once Sarah showed up, it was on your third hole. The leader card never really caught you guys. Maybe you just kept birdieing everything or something, but the leader card never really caught you, and so I didn't really bounce back and forth too much. I kind of just stayed with the leader card. I think you shot a 2 under par. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
What do you feel, maybe kind of like Sarah, that maybe you were so distracted by everything going on that your head wasn't distracted from your golf game? Or it was almost I don't want to say a good distraction, but do you know what I mean? Like, you weren't really thinking about golf. You were probably just trying to throw good shots and move on. Would that be right?
I think going into that day, I was more focused than I had been previously in the week, and that was because my family was coming there, and I didn't want them to come there to watch me get 4th place or be on the second card. Up until the semifinal, I hadn't even been above the second card. So I was on the third card most of the week, got up to the second card, and my mom drove from Texas.
Wow.
And this is the first World Championship she's been at, and I just felt pressure, but like a good kind of pressure, to want to have my family see me succeed, or at least play as good as I can. So I already felt like I was going to play well that day just because I had them there. And then when that happened, I didn't know how I was going to shoot because I felt so many different emotions. I could not calm myself down. It was a very strange feeling, but I was very amped up, I guess I would say is the word. Mm-hmm. And then I just took it I was very upset that she was going to get stroked for something that was out of her control. 100%. It's not that she was texting and driving, speeding, anything. She was at a stop sign, and it had nothing to do with her.
Yeah, for those that don't know, she was rear-ended and then pushed into oncoming traffic, where then a truck had hit her and more or less pancaked her car. Yeah, crunched it. You could see all that stuff. So, and there's pictures out there if anyone really wants to dig them up, but take our word for it.
But I don't know, when I kind of found all that out, the first couple holes were slightly rough. My first drive was amazing, but but then the next couple holes were pretty rough. And then I kind of came to the mindset that I was like, you know what? If she's gonna get stroked and she's not gonna get a chance to make those up, I want to do as best as I can, because if it's not her, I want it to be me. And that was mostly because if I was in second or first place and she was behind me, I was fully prepared to lay up for the win, for her to win. But then it's hard to think that far ahead when you still have 2.5 rounds left. So I just wanted to play my complete best from the point I found out to the very last hole, and then see what happened then. But it was like a good motivator, I guess.
It seemed to kick you into gear, considering that round you shot like a 985, then a 975, then you 1,000 rated finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think, and I know that this is probably really hard to say, do you think the situation would have been any different in the men's division? I mean, you women, there's 3 or 4 or 5 of you that tend to play together almost every tournament. The men, there's 15 to 20 of them that might kind of intermingle. Do you think the feelings or the emotions, or not, I won't say the concern, I'm sure everyone's concerned for everyone's health, do you think the situation would have been much different in the men's field?
I don't know. I think it would have been,
sure,
but I'm not sure that, like, how to answer why I think that.
Sure.
But I think it's quite a bit different in the men's field.
Yeah, well, because I had said something like, Paul, let's not say it's Paul, I don't know who it is, but Paul has the last 4 championships. You guys all on the lead card, you have 3 now. Katrina has 1 or 2, I forget, one. Val has 1.
3.
Sarah 3. Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to say I was looking at Sarah Holcomb, who has 1. Val has 3. So you guys all have some championships. So not that it doesn't mean any more to you, but in the men's division, a lot of those guys don't have championships unless you're Nate or Paul.
Yeah.
So there might be more of a fight for that, to want that first one even more.
Yeah, and for me, I talked to my dad the night before and told him, like, all my thoughts, and he thought I was insane. But the way I thought about it was, I'm 24 years old. I'm going to have so many more chances at a world title, and it was about more than that to me. But I think a lot of these guys, and like you're saying, with 144 competitors, they might not get that chance again. It's hard to even make the lead card in the men's field.
Tell me about it.
Not easy in the women's, but it's definitely easier when your percentages are severely increased. But I think they also just don't have the same type of vibe on the card.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when I'll have a random person caddy for me, they just laugh at our conversations. They're like, wow, you guys are so funny. Like, you guys talk to each other and like tell jokes. And I've noticed it mainly with Ricky. He does not say a word. And it's not like, he's not mad. He's not, anything. He's not talking. He's out there for one purpose. And so I think it would definitely be different on the men's side.
Yeah, it has been, that's been some of the conversation, is comparing the men's reaction to the women's reactions. And then, as Johnny here had alluded to, just talking about even placement within the tournament, where someone is, if they were on the 5th card or the 4th card or the 10th card, or, if I showed up late, would anybody care about waiting for me? I think one of the challenges that was faced really was, because that course is so big, is that there were women literally a mile away from you, and the core group of women that we're talking about, there was a women's group a mile away from you that didn't know that there was a potential to be delayed. And the course caddy book or whatever had said it's 1:30, and if they're out, on another hole, we'll say 14 or somewhere on the other side of the course, they're thinking, well, it's 1:30. Did we not hear the horn? Did we hear the horn? I'm not sure if we did. And they're thinking, well, let's just start. And I had heard some of that had happened, and I think that's what kind of plays into, for lack of a better term, the mess of it all, because someone thinks, well, it's 1:30. And then they're thinking, well, 1:35, I haven't heard anything. Well, we need to start. It's time to start. We were supposed to start 5 minutes ago. We must just not have heard the horn. And then they, play a hole or two and then realize, oh, we weren't supposed to start, and then they, whatever. So I think those are all part of the challenges that really make this a difficult situation. I mean, I don't think there's an obvious black and white, cookie cutter, perfect fix to all of this. I think it's all very delicate.
Yeah.
I think everybody there, or at least one person on each card, knew of this situation.
Okay.
I mean, it was right as everyone was pulling into the parking lot.
Sure.
And how talk spreads, and especially news like this. I mean, I heard it before I even got my shoes on. So if you didn't know, somebody on your card knew, but that's besides the point. I think I've been to, I would say, at least 30 tournaments where we haven't started on time.
Sure.
Whatever reason that may be. And I remember actually a couple years ago at US Women's, there was no, or I still to this day don't know why, but we didn't start on time. And it was, for example, 1:30 when we were supposed to start, and we threw. And then all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, we hear the 2 minutes and we grab our disc and go all the way back to the tee.
Sure.
And nothing happens. That's your own fault.
Yeah.
But to be fair, there was no 2-minute horns the whole week. So why would
Sure.
there be horns then? But I think looking back at the situation, what should have happened, which it's easier to say now, thinking back at it, but I think what should have happened is they should have got a horn out or went to the parking lot, like had 5 people go to the parking lot, honk some horns, call in a players meeting, and tell everyone we're going to start at 2:00. And like you said earlier, somebody brought up that we were the last people on the course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was part of my argument as well. It wasn't like we were the 8:30 round and somebody had to go off after us. So that was part of my argument, saying, what's the harm in waiting 26 minutes? And it was kind of made no sense to me also to like stop 15 minutes, but not an extra 10.
Sure.
But we'll never know. But
yeah,
I think they very well could have called a players meeting and told everybody what was going on. Everybody would have been more than accommodating to wait 26 minutes. There might have been a couple people that were mad, but there always is. And
no, I thought everybody was happy.
Everybody gets along in the women's field. That's what we've been told.
Not just the women's. I'll say any field.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, what I want to address real quickly, and Ben Ferris just said it on the board.
A lot of people are asking.
I'm going to address something that's related, but not. People need to quit referencing the hold up for Kenny for 2 or 3 hours when they held up a tournament. And I only say that because that was the dumbest decision that Ron Russell maybe has ever made in his life. Yeah. There was a tournament in Florida a couple of years ago, and apparently Ken Climo was trying to get to it. Ron Russell was hosting it. He was the TD.
Oh, yeah.
And Ron Russell held up the entire tournament for like 2 or 3 hours for Ken Climo to get to it. And I understand what you're saying, Paige, and I'm okay with some kind of delays. But let's quit referencing that, because that was the dumbest thing Ron Russell probably has ever done in his life. So that's not a fair comparison.
I would be more apt to see, kind of like what Paige would say, call the players in, let them know the situation, and then, I mean...
Maybe have a vote?
Some kind of a vote.
Take a vote, maybe not even to delay it, but to allow her to play those holes after the round. Because then the flow of play still happens. She'll get there. Her group is there. The group can walk the other 2 holes with her.
Yeah, and we did. And
yeah.
I don't want to get too far into this, but...
She played them well, I heard.
We were falsely told that she was going to be able to play the last 2 holes after.
Yeah, there was some mistake.
My card, the second card, was under the impression that we were not waiting for. So we decided as a group, get our phone out, take our full 30 seconds. We're not going to break the rules, but we're going to play the gray area as well as we can. We all took our 30 seconds. We were all about to lose a disc and look for it for 3 minutes, each of us, and then find it. And, if we did that 3 times, that was the 16 minutes that we didn't wait, and everything would have been fine. Well, we had fully prepared to do that, and we were falsely told that it was in the rules that first, under the special provisions rule, that she was able to play the holes that she missed afterwards. and that we needed to speed back up to regular play and to not worry, stop worrying. She's going to get to play those holes that she misses. So we all sped back up, played the rest of our round. We finished the round, added our scorecards, and like you said, the lead card never caught us. So they were I think they were 2 holes behind us that we never even saw them.
Mm-hmm.
So we added our cards. I handed the card to Val and asked her if she could turn it in, that I was going to go watch Hokum play those 2 holes. And so me and Ragnar went up to the top of the hill to go watch her play the holes, and it took them a couple minutes to get there.
Because we were actually doing an interview.
You were in the middle of an interview.
I was starting an interview with Sarah on hole 6, which was her last hole, and right. I kind of started one, and then in mid-interview we hear a bunch of yelling, and it was you guys telling Sarah, "Hey, get over here! You're gonna play your last 2. The 2 holes you missed, you're gonna play them." So that's why I took a couple extra minutes, is because we were actually talking at that point, and then we went running out and met you on hole 7.
Yeah, and I saw Katrina and who was the other? It was Sarah, Owen,
Val, Sarah, Owen, Katrina.
Yeah.
Katrina and Owen came out of the woods, and it looked like they were walking towards the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
So to me, that seemed they added their cards up, and like, why are they leaving? Like, Hokum's playing these 2 holes.
Sure,
well,
sure.
Apparently, they didn't get the same message that our second card got, and I believe that's because the second card, we made a very big deal of that. And we were basically told a white lie to
speed you up.
Yes. And so we told Sarah what we were told, and Dawn, and I believe you, Terry, and Sarah was like, "Oh, okay, well let's do it," And Steve Gans was there, and he looked very confused. He's like, "That's not a rule," and then he's whispering to me and Ragna because he didn't want to shake Sarah up anymore. So Sarah's lining up her shot on hole 7, and the first hole, or what would have been her first hole, and he's reading the rules to us. To me and Ragna and Dawn, showing us what the rule actually states and not what we were told.
Yeah.
But Sarah played those 2 holes anyways, and she threw. You got video of it, right, Terry?
Oh, I got it.
Terry's got video no one will ever see.
I've got some video that may never see the light of day, but as you said, Sarah threw a decent shot there on 7. And then she banged a really long putt.
Didn't you say she hit like 2 40-footers?
No, the first one was like between 40 to 50. The first one on hole 7.
60.
Yeah, I guess I could pull it up, but it was a really long putt. She birdies it, and then she moves over to hole 8, and she throws the drive, and that's when I don't want to say unraveled, but that's when I forget who came up to her.
I did.
You did, and said these really aren't going to count. And then at that point, we're all like, "Oh well, you've already thrown this drive. Finish out the hole. Who knows?"
Yeah. And it was so awesome to see how composed she stayed throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Steve told me and Ragna and Dawn was whispering to us the rules. Well, when Sarah teed off on 7. Dawn obviously went with her. Mm-hmm. I stayed at the top of the hill to keep talking to Steve to try to get it
straightened out.
Try to find a loophole, something. Well, when they came up hole 8, it came to the conclusion, like, I'm sorry, but this is that's not a rule. And I told Dawn, and Dawn tells Sarah, and he goes, "It's not going to count, but finish it out." And she goes, "Bummer." And she didn't put up a fight. She wasn't mad. She was, it was just awesome.
It was. I think in her head, she had known the rules, exactly. She was hoping that maybe she's gonna catch a break, but like you said, she wasn't mad. She wasn't worked up. She wasn't gonna fight about it. she knew that, I think in her head all along, she planned on taking those two plus fours, so to speak, on those 2 holes, and if something else changed from that, it was going to be like a bonus, so to speak, or a pleasant surprise, but nothing she was counting on or going to fight or beg or plead for. So like you said, she took it totally in stride. And if there's one thing that I have to reiterate, and it includes you, Paige, and it includes Sarah, the tone through and through again is you guys are friends, and you're also very fair competitors, and nobody wanted the other one to feel slighted. You didn't want Sarah to feel slighted, and Sarah doesn't want you to feel slighted on this win either. I mean, it all sucks how it went down, but, Sarah even told me, you know what, who's to say I showed up healthy and with no accident that day, and I still go out and shoot good golf. I could have shot horrible golf and still given away 8 strokes on my own.
Yeah.
And, there was no way for her to tell. She even said, I had a lot of adrenaline running through me all day Friday and possibly even Saturday.
Yeah.
Maybe I played better golf than I really would have, had I had a lead still. So I think that's what I love seeing between the two of you, and I've talked to you both independently, is you both feel like you're competitive, but the other one shouldn't feel really slighted. And it's like you're arguing about which one of you is nicer. Like, oh, I'm nice. No, I'm nice. Like, it's, or would that the other one is nicer, I should say. It's, there's no, I don't know. I don't feel like there's any ill will or feelings, which I think is so huge here.
Well, let's get into the last semi-controversy of you guys' field, and that involves you and the final interview with Crazy. Were you okay with that interview? I know, like, not physically you weren't okay. It was you would look like you needed to catch your composure, but were you okay with him coming up and interviewing right then? There's a big argument about when, as media, we should come up, and especially for huge events like Worlds and things like that, and talk to players after they win. And there's an argument of we should wait till you turn in your card. And I don't know what the situation was there as far as where you had to go and do that. And then there's an argument of, no, we want to get the raw emotion of someone just winning a championship, or for you guys, it was a way different situation. How do you feel about that?
This is probably going to get me into trouble, but I don't think, I won't say anything, but I don't think 90% of what Disc Golf Planet does is ever professional, in my opinion.
Okay.
First and foremost, it never works. And they're paying, like, customers are paying for it. Like, it's the one show where people are paying for it. My mom has a membership. She doesn't even watch disc golf, and she pays for it yearly, and she calls me, Paige, why isn't this working? I don't know.
You're probably trying to play.
I thought you were tech support.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. But I understand where he was coming from, because that's what the people want to see, is the interview right after. But when the camera's in my face and I purposely walk away, I just didn't feel like that was necessary.
All right.
I think you handled it well, Terry. I mean, obviously you wanted an interview as well, but you waited an hour after, when I was obviously calmed down, and you still got the full story, and probably even more. I mean, I didn't tell him anything really. All his questions he asked, I don't feel like I really even answered them. I mean, I don't really remember what I said, but I don't know. It just, whatever he was trying to do, I don't think he accomplished it. Besides showing that I was crying, because I feel like that's all I did. I don't feel like I talked. And so,
how about other situations? Let's say it's not Worlds, or let's say it is next year Worlds. You know, you go on and win. Situation's totally different. You win by 40 strokes, and do you feel that we should be interviewing directly after that last putt drops, or should we wait? Should we wait till the scores are turned in?
Wait, and I understand they want to be there right then, but prime example. Everyone in the audience is probably thinking this right now. Will Schustrick at the Memorial.
Yeah.
You cannot interview someone before they've. First of all, the number one priority is finishing your job, aka adding your scorecard, saying great round to everybody on your card, turning your card in if you're the one who shot the best, and chances are if you're the one being interviewed, you're the one that shot the best. So I mean, it's not like they have to wait that long. They can sit there, wrap it up in their mind what happened, like, oh, we just saw Will Schustrick hit the final putt at the Memorial, blah blah blah. I mean, just pan over to some fans and ask them what they thought of the last putt or whatever.
Sure.
Who knows? I'm not a media person. But
and that's why I wanted to ask you, as you're one of our top pros, and I wanted to kind of get their feeling. There's some discussion in our little private media groups, not this particular, but different protocols and etiquette, and I wanted to get a general feeling from someone who is in the winner circle quite a bit, and that's you, and how you feel about it. So it's good to have a general idea, and I think we have a protocol as far as what we need to start looking at in rules and boundaries, and I think it's a good idea if the top pros kind of chime in on that, get a general feeling about, and let the PDGA and let us know our boundaries.
Well, I think another thing that maybe should be talked about then is being a little quieter when he's talking, or not he, everybody is talking. We can hear the commentating a lot of times. Or, if you're going to be near our shot, have the whoever's talking back up. And then I saw a couple times he spotted from, basket view, and he would be standing at the disc, like lining. I don't know how to describe it, but he would be standing basically where my drive landed, and then stand behind it as if he would be trying to figure out what he was going to do. It's like, well, it looks to me like she'll have a sidearm from here, and then I'm walking up to my disc, and he's still there, and so that's causing
So space. You need some. You guys need some space from the commentating, and from a media perspective, we understand it's difficult because our best position is as close to the players as possible to give everybody the story of what's happening with every shot and whatnot. But what you're saying is we just need to be very conscious, because there has been discussion about whether or not you guys hear us, how much you hear us, what you guys are thinking. I mean, if you drill a tree on the first shot and Terry sits behind you and is like, that's not going to start a round out very well by hitting that first tree in front of her. We understand you don't want to hear that. You may have to at times, but so you're saying just try to give the players as much space as possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we all know it's really tough. We're a small organization. Our media crew is small. Our players are just learning how to deal with media, and it's kind of a two-way street in that we want more media, we want more people want to see what's going on, and sometimes there's going to be media people shuffling around and distracting players, and obviously everyone's trying to hopefully do their best, and I hate to use the term, but we always talk about growing pains, and that may be one of them. I know there's been multiple times where I've kind of double-checked with Johnny McRae specifically. I'd be like, I just want you to make, he's shown a little bit of frustration, and I will either ask him or his wife and say, I want to make sure that wasn't me that was, distracting you. And once, I guess it has been, and most of the time it hasn't, but the media is trying to learn the players as much as the players are trying to learn to be with the media.
I think one of the best ones, broadcasts, that is, in my opinion, was USDGC last year. Crazy John was the commentator, but he was sitting on 18's green. So even though he was commentating, he wasn't being heard by the players because he was stationary watching coverage.
Sure.
And we've discussed this on the broadcast, the positives and negatives of that. I mean, the nice thing is, you're right, you guys can't hear anything. The negative is the person who's commentating gets such a limited view of what's going on, especially for wooded shots. Like, you can moraine, you can hit a tree and kick 50 feet off the woods, and the commentator has no clue if you kick left or right.
They all have earpieces in. So say Terry's the field guy. Mm-hmm. You're sitting behind the computer in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Terry has a little earpiece in, or you have an earpiece in. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And since Terry's there live, he shouldn't be commentating. You should, but he can hear what you're saying.
Sure.
And if something's wrong, he can correct you real quick. Or if there's something that you can't see that he can, he can tell you. I mean, but the constant chatter, and even when you think you're being quiet, your mouth makes noises.
So, I'm always told that. Damn it.
Awkward.
No, I'm not speaking about you.
No, but I mean, it's all of us. We're all media. We're all, whether it's McFly standing in the middle of a fairway, whether it's Terry standing behind a shot or behind a person, or crazy whispering really well into the mic.
But usually when you hear like one or two words, you like try to tune in so you can hear what they're talking about.
Your brain can't tune it out, is what it is, and that's difficult. So, all right.
Yeah, and you're going to have to hopefully just be brutally honest and clear and concise with me and others, as we're learning. We're going to try our best, and that's one of the big downfalls that we are experiencing now is when you're talking about some of the fancy ways to go about it, you're talking about multi-million-dollar setups that have different options to do some of the things, and disc golf media isn't exactly to that stage yet. Yeah. So, there's limitations, and all we can do is hopefully just improve on them as we move forward. I feel like it's like everything else. I feel like the communication is what's key. Is you need to tell me, Paige, if it ever happens, you need to say, hey, back on hole 9 or back on hole 11 that round, you were doing X, Y, and Z, and it'd be better if you didn't. I think we need to have that open dialogue.
And and I think one of the main things that we can all do as media is just when a player gets to their lie or gets on the tee, just shut up.
Yeah.
Just stop talking.
Yeah, it's okay to have blank space.
It's okay to have dead air, especially when people are focused. And that was a big complaint in general we've heard from this past week and broadcasts we've done, that just don't talk. Even if the players can't hear you, they can't hear you. If just when the player is putting or driving, just don't talk. If you have to whisper, it's probably not worth talking.
Yeah.
So
there's lots of different ways to go about it, and hopefully we'll find the happy medium
we'll get it.
We'll make everybody happy, right?
By this time next week, we will make everybody happy from every on out. So.
Perfect. What else would you like to reflect on? Anything in particular about the Worlds? Tell us about how you feel generally speaking about the courses.
I had seen a couple of the courses because we played a national tour there in I think 2012, I want to say. So I played a couple of them. I didn't realize how hilly they were. There's so much elevation and such tight woods. It was, if you didn't hit a tree on a hole, you were like dancing out there. So the courses were definitely challenging, and I think Slippery Rock was a good addition just because it allowed the field to open up a little bit, driving wise, not like scores. But it was nice to just like be able to throw a disc on that course. But that being said, that was my least favorite course. But
okay.
It was definitely a good mix of courses, I think. But the common denominator was definitely the elevation. It was like every single hole was either up or down. There was hardly any flat shots. So I think there was quite a bit of rollaways and, play on the greens.
Now, you played 4 courses versus myself, who only played 3 courses. The difference was you played Knob Hill. How do you feel like your preparations were, any better or worse or different because you had a 4th course to learn or practice? And I know in your case, you've probably seen it before, but, playing 4 courses versus 3, any input on that?
I try to look at the schedule and see which ones we played multiple times.
Okay.
And we only played Deer Lakes once and Slippery once. So I didn't even play all of Slippery. I only played probably 10 of the holes. The rest were just wide open. So it was more about placement, where you needed to be, and just having your release point on that day and your putting. So Slippery I only played once. I didn't really waste my time there. And Deer Lakes, I played one practice round there. I remember that one the most, actually, from before. Only played there once practice, and then we played 2 rounds there for doubles. So that was pretty much 3 practice rounds there. But we spent most of our time practicing at Moraine and Knob. And I don't know. It was just mainly about hitting our lines that week. And like, if you didn't hit any trees, you were pretty well off. It was weird, like, though, a lot of times I would miss my line by this much and be completely screwed. But then the next hole, miss my line by this much and land in the middle of the fairway. So it was hard. It was kind of hard to practice those kind of courses, because no matter how many times you play it, even the locals, I'm sure, have played it hundreds of times, and they find new places to land every time. So you kind of just have to, like, take it as it comes and know how to scramble, which I feel like I did really well this past week. I didn't get off the tee too well, especially on the first 3 days. My drives were terrible, like, very bad. But I was getting out of trouble really well, and so I think that saved me.
One of the questions that came in off the board by our good pal Batman, he wants to know, how do you practice for elevation? Let's just say you're in some other area, a week before the event, and it's completely flat there, but you're going to a very elevated, set of courses. Is there anything in particular you do to practice for that?
Well, in different altitudes, like, discs fly differently. So first you need to figure that out. Are my discs flying stable here or understable here? So that's first thing. But elevated holes specifically, like, if the green's elevated, you really have to practice angles, like the angle you want your disc to be at when it hits the hill. So you have to be able to throw sidearm hyzer and backhand anhyzer. Even though it goes the same direction, the spin on the disc when it hits the hill is going to be dramatically different. So you have to have a lot of shots in your bag, as well as know what angle can be placed on what type of hill.
Now, can you 3 hole number 7 out at Slippery Rock? Do you feel like you could 3 that? Did it ever even cross your mind to go out and directly over the fence, like we saw some of our other open players do?
Which one is 7?
7's the one that goes straight up the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Because Des Redding 3'd it, and I think you throw further than Des.
That was a lie. I mean, not a lie, but, like, we had, okay, first of all, we had a lot of scoring errors, like, in our live scoring.
Oh, awkward. Madison scoring. Mads.
Throw her under the bus.
That one wasn't. But since our card was having mess ups, we were like, oh my God, Des 3'd hole 7. Then we were like, no, she didn't. Somebody just messed it up. But if she did, congrats to her, because that's awesome too.
And the rumor was she threw in a fairway.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, that was the rumor, but who knows if that could have been started by someone who had no clue what they were talking about, like me.
Like me.
Like everybody besides her. But I don't think so. I mean, maybe if I even tried, I could in a practice round, I would say.
Because I think you could clear the trees, and then I think you have more than enough power to get it up the hill. I think it's just a matter of having a good angle and a good run up to be able to throw up that hill the second shot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see you try it. That's all.
Well,
what is the future for you now? 3-time world champ. Is there anything special that we can expect, or anything as far as a disc, plastic, or just in general coming from you now that you've got number 3? And how come you do it every other year?
Yeah.
That's a question. What's wrong with even number years?
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
Well, I don't know. 2012 was terrible for me. I actually had an injury, not to blame it on that, but I had an injury and it kind of like mentally took me out of it, I feel.
Okay.
But Sarah won that year, so that was cool to watch. And 2014, I feel like I should have won.
Fair enough.
We're past that now.
So, anything up.
So 2016 or 2017, which is it, or both?
Hopefully both.
Okay.
I would definitely love both. But I think next year in Emporia, I think I have a really good chance. I play those courses very well, and I've been there a lot, so practice isn't going to be a concern, really. I know the courses. It's just about executing them.
Staying cool.
Yeah.
Mid-July or late July or early August, whenever it's going to be in Kansas.
She's from Texas. You'll be fine.
That's true.
So Des Redding, 3 world titles. Valerie Jenkins, 3 world titles. Paige Pierce now with 3 world titles. There's only a few other women that have more than 3. What will that mean to you?
I actually have stayed at Juliana's house, and she didn't, as a woman that's won probably, I don't know, but I would guess hundreds of tournaments. She only had like 5 trophies on display, maybe like 10, maybe.
Sure.
And I was kind of shocked by that because, usually when you go into a disc golfer's house, it's everywhere.
Yep.
But to see like only her world title trophies and like her obelisks were framed or like
mounted or displayed or whatever. Yep.
So I think that would be cool. I used to have like all of my trophy discs on the wall, hanging from the wall, and a couple years ago I actually took all those down, and I have all my amateur trophies still, but they're in storage. And so now I only have my professional trophies up, and so I'm trying to only display my first places. But it's not that many. So,
hashtag Paige Pierce problems.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Or I'll break a lot of trophies.
I was there for one of those. Anyway. Nick Hyde.
No, a lot of stuff gets broken on the road. Or Madison or Drew.
Hashtag Nick Hyde. Yeah, memorial.
Mads. Yes!
Yeah.
Wait, you broke that one.
Not me. Madison did. Don't blame me. I was there for it, and I know that she broke it. I don't forget things like that.
Drew broke my Vibram one. I broke my Vibram one at a hotel, which was one of my favorite trophies. So that was no, but I think that would be amazing because obviously there's only 2 other women that have done it, and just to see like 5 world champions. I mean, I don't even know. That would just be insane.
More than 5.
And I think I very well could. I mean, I have 3 and I'm 24 years old, so it's not out of the question, I don't feel like. But, people are getting better and better, and I'm going to have to start practicing a little more.
Yeah, we've seen, this past week we saw a name up there we hadn't seen on the league card, which was Holly Finley. It was kind of, a lot of people were shocked to see her because the last couple months seems like her game has stepped up a little bit. We've now got Jen Allen out there who seems to be playing very well. So the competition is getting fierce.
My question is, how long before your travel partner beats you? Is there any kind of wagers on that? What does she think about that?
Dinner.
She, what do you think? She has the confidence, which is something that a lot of women lack. She does. She is one of the few women that will come out and say, I'm going to beat you.
Yep.
Or like, I know I can beat you. And a lot of people, like, just for example, this is the most recent one. I asked Paige Pierce why she wasn't doing distance, because she was sitting there watching. I was like, why aren't you doing distance? She's like, because I know I can't beat you. And I'm like, well, now you're definitely not going to beat me. Yeah. So, like, I just hate hearing that attitude, and I think any woman that thinks like that is setting themselves up for failure automatically. And so I think Madison has definitely an advantage over a lot of women just because she has confidence in herself, and she's getting better every week. She is kind of stagnant right now because she's learning so much that when she gets up to a shot, she has 8 different options she can throw now. So, but once she figures out her disc fully and stops changing her bag every 2 days, people stop giving her discs, please. And so once she figures out her bag, like, fully, and like is comfortable in shot selection, I think she's definitely going to give me a run for my money.
Good. Okay. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit. We know that you're good friends with many of the top players on the men's side. I know you've got a lot of disc golf friends, obviously, all over. But on the men's side, you're good friends with a lot of the top competitors. And obviously, you got to watch this week unfold with the likes of Will Schusterich leading for a few of the days. And then seeing, of course, Paul Macbeth, kind of sealed the deal with a couple rounds to go. What seemed like, he kind of just kicked it into another gear. Talk about what you saw and some of the feelings and things that were going on in your head as you saw the men's division unfold.
I think that I was, no offense, Paul, love you, but I was really hoping Ricky would win.
Okay.
If it wasn't Germ. But I don't know, Ricky's been so close. Mm-hmm. And last year to lose in a playoff, I know how heartbreaking like playoff losses can be. And he was right there. And I was checking during my round, one of my rounds, I think it was the round before the semi, but I'm not positive. But Ricky was only, I think, 3 back. And then I didn't look at my phone again. And then after the round, someone said Macbeth was up by 8. And I was like, what? Macbeth being up by 8, it's over. I don't care if there's 5 rounds left. He's not going to. Wow. No, people are so intimidated by him that it's just sickening. Like, yes, he's the best player ever. I think ever. But don't let that stop you from beating him. I mean, I heard Nate Sexton tell me one time, I will never beat Paul Macbeth in a tournament. He's like, I'll beat him in a round. I'll beat him in a day, but over the course of 6.5 rounds, I'm not going to beat him.
And that's funny because I think that, Paul is clearly, as he showed by the first 2 rounds, in a 2-round or 3-round event, he's very beatable. I won't say very in quotes for those guys.
He can be beaten.
He can be beaten. It's the 6.5, 7-round events that obviously that gets a lot tougher.
Yeah.
But we all know it could be done, and Paul said himself, I think, on one of the things he should have the attitude that he doesn't think anyone can beat him, but the other guys should have that same attitude.
Yeah, and I think the fact that people call him a Sunday player, that just fuels his fire too. Like, he knows he has the mental strength that if he's down, he's known as a Sunday player, and he doesn't care if he's down because he's got the intimidation factor going into Sunday. Everybody's thinking, well, I'm leading by 3, but, today's Macbeth's day. Like, it's just crazy. Like, if you think he's going to beat you, go out and practice. And the only person, well, not only, but that I know of that practices as hard as him is Will. And, if you think he's better than you, go practice. If you want to beat him, go practice. Because that's all he's doing.
Do you think that sometimes just practice isn't enough? Let's say Paul practices 40 hours a week, and I may go out and practice 80 hours a week. I'm probably still not beating him. Do you think that just maybe there's, whether it's the mental or the physical component of it or the drive or just the sheer raw skill that no amount of practice makes him sometimes, can make him unbeatable?
Yeah, I do, but practice also, it's not good just for getting better. Like, it helps with your confidence, helps with experience, really, just being in the situation. Like I just said, like you can play a course 100 times and land in a different spot every time.
Sure.
Well, practice is also experience. So when you've seen 100 different places to land, you've tried 100 different ways to scramble out of that situation, and then your trick shots become better, and whatever it may be. But yes, I do agree. Like he's obviously was born with a natural talent, so that's hard to beat.
Yeah. Sometimes there's some genetics there.
Yeah, I mean there's.
Yeah.
Some people, it doesn't matter how much they practice, they're not beating Paul. Maybe if all those top guys, if you're Ulis and Rickies and Wills and Brinsters, if they all practiced that hard, they would have a chance.
Yeah, but on holes that, I mean, really we don't play par fives, maybe one around.
Yeah.
And so on par fours and under, he's not going to albatross them. So what is he going to equal them? So worst case, it's not that big of scoring separation in disc golf.
Correct.
So as long as you leave yourself close, I mean, that's all you can ask for. If just stay close, and if he messes up, be there.
Yep.
Yeah. The problem is he doesn't mess up too. That's the one problem.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask Dana this, and this is, I think, a great question for you to answer as well. When we see domination, and clearly Paul has dominated with 4 world titles in a row, we've seen you take 3 titles in the last 5 years. Do you feel like having a dominant player in the men's or women's division, or both, do you feel like that's good or bad for the sport? Because some people are like, and I'll say this, some people are like, I want to see anybody but Macbeth win because, that's better for the sport. And I hear other people say the exact opposite, is you love to, see it. How do you feel? You're one of those people that dominate. Do you feel like a dominant player in any division is good or bad for the sport?
I don't know that I've ever thought about that, but I don't think it matters, to be honest. I mean, if you choose to look at it like that, I guess it could go either way. That's up to whoever's thinking about its mindset, I guess. But I really don't think that has anything to do with being bad for the sport.
Okay. I mean, some people are like, I'm so bored. I'm sick of...
I mean, maybe media-wise, maybe they don't want to watch it, which I didn't go watch Paul's Final Nine.
I said the same...
I mean, that's just it. To me, it was Paul's Final Nine. It wasn't...
Yeah, I said the same thing. I walked the first hole or two, and then I was like, this is a victory lap. I have other things I can do. I know he's won. There was no drama. There was no drama to it.
Who wants to go walk Slippery Rock?
Not this guy, but I did.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish somebody was closer to him. I mean, to have that many spectators out there, and then, I mean, I don't know because I didn't watch, but like, was he just laying up out there, or like he wasn't trying that hard?
2 eagles. I don't know. I mean, I watched the course, but in the final 9, he had 2 eagles.
Oh, okay.
And I will say no birdies, but 2 eagles. I think he eagled both the par 5s, the uphill, and there was one other, I thought, par 5 out there maybe. I don't know. But
no, didn't he eagle hole 4 over the water probably?
Yeah, yes, he eagled hole 4 over the water, which is everyone, there was a lot of discussion about what par is on that because the guys can drive over, but the women all throw around and then
par doesn't matter as long as low score wins.
Exactly.
But that's another argument.
So maybe a final note, you did not just win the singles title, you and your good buddy Big Germ won the doubles, the mixed doubles title. Talk about that a little bit and what that meant to you.
Well, that was my 8th try in doubles with 4 different partners. So that's something, like, I think doubles is so fun. I think there should be a women's doubles and a men's doubles too. I think it's awesome. And it's, I don't know, it brings, it gives you like an experience that we don't normally get. And so it's fun. You get to like be a team sport in this individual sport that we don't see much. That's why the President's Cup is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're all coming together, teaming up, and going after something we all love. And So, I don't know. It's really fun, and Germ's been my closest friend on the men's side, and he has an awesome sidearm, obviously, and throws a mile. Hand's a great putter. So, I asked him to be my partner a couple of years ago, and we were super close. But we just had an unfortunate mess up with like 3 holes to play. He decided to throw an X nuke, a 150 X, to try to eagle this hole. That we didn't need to.
But anyway.
Anyway, then the next year, I kind of messed up with 2 holes to play. So we were even when we were joking about it. And this year, he's been playing better than he ever has. And we were looking forward to it big time this year. He's been putting really well. And Kat and Yuli weren't playing, which they just win all the time. So that was.
Do you know why they didn't play this year? Were they just focused more on practicing the courses, or?
Well, defending a world title on Kat's side. I'm not sure if Yuli wanted to or whatever it was, but defending a world title is like a lot of pressure, and I'm sure she was out there practicing nonstop. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to take time away from like individual practice.
Sure.
And, like, I don't know. But to me, I thought it was a great practice round because it was competitive, and you want it. Like, I think doubles to me is I was more nervous in doubles because I was not only playing for myself, but I didn't want to let Germ down. And when I would throw a bad shot, I would just turn around and be like, "I'm sorry." I'd be like, "Stop saying sorry." But it was really fun, and we're always better in alternate shot than best shot, which doesn't make sense. But I think that comes to focus as well, because when you have 2 shots to choose from, I throw first, I throw bad, because I'm not really 100% focused. Because it's okay if I mess up. We still have Germ's shot.
Yeah.
Now, alternate, I know this is the shot at hand. I have to execute it. But I think we just were focused more on alternate and ended up shooting like very, very well on alternate.
56.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a very, very solid score, and I'm glad I got to watch most of it and record most of it. 56. I think you even hear in the video blog that I put together, Nate Doss is like, "Yeah, that's hot. No one's touching that," or something like that.
We played with Nate and Val on our alternate round, and we were on the 3rd card, I believe.
You were on the third card. Yes, you were on the third card, and this was at Deer Lakes. Someone was just asking where it was. You played first round. You played best shot, and you guys shot a 55. Yes. And then you went to the alternate shot second round. And just to clarify for anyone listening in before you go on, best shot, first of all, at Worlds in mixed doubles is played so that you can't take a person's drive 3 times in a row. So if Paige parked hole 1 and parked hole 2, on hole 3 you automatically have to take Germ's shot. Mm-hmm. And so you can never constantly just rely on one teammate or the other, male or female, just kind of carrying you through on all the drives. So that's how the best shot was done, which I think helps even things out. I know I like to play that way locally because I think it kind of helps even out teams a little bit in best shot. And then an alternate shot, the women were driving all of the odd-numbered holes, and the men were driving the even? Vice versa. Okay. So the women were driving all the even-numbered holes, and the men were driving all the odd-numbered holes, regardless of what you took on the previous score or on the previous hole. So it wasn't true alternate in that sense. But again, it meant you guys were for sure taking 9 of your drives and 9 of his drives. So... sorry, go on. I just want to clarify for everyone that, that's kind of the format that Pro Worlds doubles has now had for a couple of years. And I think they're great modifications to both best shot and to alternate shot.
Yeah, I think so as well. But yeah, we shot a 55 the first round, and I think the best was 52. So we were only 3 back, and even though we were on the 3rd card, we were only 3 back. And I just had a feeling like if we won our card against Nate and Val, we would win.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to interject real quick. Some of the teams in front of you, although they had great best shot scores, weren't as solid all around as you and Germ are. You two are two of the best players in the world in your divisions, and you're teamed up. And the other teams were obviously great teams. They shot, good scores first round, but they weren't as well-rounded as you guys. I mean, I think of Jay and Des Redding, both obviously phenomenal players, but you and Germ independently, and when you're relying on that alternate shot, you guys have, a little bit more distance and, a few more tricks up your sleeve than, say, Jay and Des, not to pick on them, or Shasta and Shauna, again, great competitors, but you guys have a few more tricks up your sleeve.
Superman and Wonder Woman.
Exactly. Zoe and Dustin. So, and as you said, once you got, so to speak, past Val and Nate, if you could do that, then your chances would be pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so. And on our first, I think, couple holes, it was pretty even, and then we started to pull ahead, and I said something to Germ. I was like, let's just stay ahead of them. I think if we beat them, we win. And we try not to look at the live scores, just because really, I mean, we're playing different holes. And so just because they're, at a certain score doesn't really mean anything until we get to that same score. So, and a lot of those holes are par fours. So, 10 of them, I think.
Yeah.
Par 66. But so a majority of them are. So it was hard to keep track on that. So we didn't really look. And then we realized, like, wow, we're playing like really good. I think we only missed one inside the circle, and it was like our second to last hole. So we already kind of knew, because Nate was like, gosh, y'all are like way ahead. And we like looked at the scores. And Nico and Jess had just taken, I believe, a 7 on, or a triple bogey. Sorry, not a 7.
Sure. Yep.
Triple bogey. And we had 2 holes to play. So I think we kind of knew, but then again, everybody was so close that we didn't celebrate until every card was in, because even the cards behind us were only one stroke behind. But we knew in past years we had played alternates so well that if we just, played to the best of our ability, that I thought we had the best team.
Yeah, well, clearly you guys did, and congratulations for that. That's exactly what I meant when I did interview you the other day. I was going to say you opened this week with a championships and you closed the week winning a championship. So I know there was a lot of chaos in between, but to bookend your Saturday and then your next Saturday, both with world titles, there's something to be said about that. So you're in Nantucket this weekend,
Yes.
playing in a B tier, which I believe is just the single day for the pros on Saturday. Is that correct?
Yep. On Friday we have a skins match. Saturday is 2 rounds and a final 9, which is also a skins match, but the locals not locals, but everybody that's spectating has cowbells, and they're just ringing them.
Oh, I've seen that on YouTube. I want to say I saw Will last year, the year before, post something.
Brenster, Nate.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 different skins matches. 5,000 added to the men, 1,000 added to the women at a B tier.
Yeah.
And it's on a beautiful island. And the TD actually used to live in Fort Worth, and he approached me at a tournament I played earlier this year. And he's like, yeah, we apparently they've hosted everybody that's came in the past. This year they do it, but everybody at the tournament, not just the top pros or whoever, but they've paid for the hotels of everybody that's came to the tournament. So that was just incredible to hear.
Yeah.
And they own 2 homes on the island. Me and Madison are like in this 5-bedroom house by ourselves until the Brinsters get here. But
Awesome.
yeah, so I'm excited to see this course, and this beautiful island. Well, we got here today and it was pouring down rain, so we didn't really. We took a ferry in the rain, carried all of our luggage in the pouring rain, and now we're doing laundry because all of our stuff's wet.
No world champ love there. So you guys are going to be doing that. I had spoke to the TD at one point. I think you may see some disc golf guy
today, and he was wondering why you didn't come.
Yeah, it seemed we had a lapse in communication, and I'd love to talk to him again and be out there next year and take part, because obviously it sounds like a really great course, sounds like a great tournament, and having so many of our great players there, that's somewhere I definitely want on my map or on my schedule for next year. You're going to do that, and then you're going to make your way a little bit more our direction to come over here for the Ledgestone the week after.
More your direction.
Yeah, what's that?
20 hours your direction.
Oh, is that long of a drive? Oh, all right. Well, so you're going to come over to the Ledgestone. You haven't played in that event?
Yes, I have.
Just kidding. You did.
I played it in 2012, I believe.
Okay. Well, I wasn't there, so no.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count. No. But you haven't been here in a couple years, and obviously that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, non-world championship event that you're going to be participating in this year. Any? Have you put any thought into it, or you know? I guess I'll say prepared. Did you stop through Peoria anytime this year to look at the courses, anything like that?
No, I have not. I mean, the tour is so crazy. You don't ever go out of your way to play a course. There's no time really, but I do slightly remember the courses. I don't remember. I mean, I guess I don't remember the courses, but like individual holes, I can picture. I remember Hokum beat me there.
Okay.
I remember it was like slightly wooded, but like decently fairways. And I mean, I just looked at the schedule last night, and I believe we play 3 courses. So we're trying to get there as early as possible. We're going to stop by Dana and Ashley's and go see Edith, meet Edith. And so we're going to try to hurry there, but like I said, it's 20 hours. But I guess that's good that this Nantucket tournament's only a one-day beach here, so we can leave Sunday.
Well, today's Tuesday? I mean, if the TD wants to reach out to me, I could still make that happen. Maybe I could get out there. I could. Tell him to shoot me another. I forget where I have his info. Tell him to shoot me another message. If he can find a way to get me there Friday, I could be there Friday, Saturday. I'd partake. I would still love to come out and record it. I think it'd be awesome.
Well, there's a couple extra rooms you could choose from.
Well, there you go. Sounds like a plan. So have them shoot me a message. We'll make it happen right here on Smash. Okay, I would. I think we did talk about the idea of live. Obviously not happening this year, but the idea of live. And, you know, maybe I can do some signal testing, and maybe by next year we will be live out there. I mean, anything's possible. Awesome. Paige, we're wrapping up with you. Is there anything you'd like to share with us? I know we've come at you with questions. Questions have come in off the board. Is there anything just openly that, that you feel you haven't been asked that you'd love to share with the world? Or not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. No, we love to give an open-ended space in case anybody has anything to share.
She's hiding over there, isn't she?
Uh-oh. Madison.
Every once in a while we saw her head poke up from the couch, and then like a groundhog, it would just drop. See? There she goes.
Mads, you got to come over and at least say hello to everyone on the. It wouldn't be the same not having you. Yeah. At least saying hi to the world, as you guys have been the traveling duo.
They're in a much nicer place than a grocery store.
Than their grocery store visit.
Oh, come on, that was great.
It was.
It was great. You're our only grocery store.
Hey, Mads.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Well, you're awake now.
You up, yeah.
Well, we're glad you could step inside the Smash box.
It must have been a riveting book if you were sleeping.
She doesn't read. Don't let her fool you.
She's like, I pulled this one off the shelf.
Look at all these fancy books here.
What are you reading, Madison?
Bill Bryson. He goes around the United States, and it's funny because he's in Philadelphia right now, where we just left, or Pennsylvania.
Sure.
All right.
Philadelphia. She booked. Speaking of Philadelphia.
Uh-oh.
We were. It's Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she thought we were in Philadelphia and bought concert tickets.
We were going to be in Philadelphia.
Bought concert tickets in Philadelphia.
It's only like 5 or 6 hours.
5.5 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what concert did you miss?
Miguel.
All right. Well,
best of luck with that.
That'll happen and stuff.
Laugh it up, guys.
That's what we do here on Smashbox. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We had just about record turnout here tonight. We're so glad that we can have people like our champions, and it's awesome. We really appreciate you guys. And Madison is someday to be champion when she beats Paige. We really appreciate you guys taking out the time to join us and step inside the Smashboxes. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to
text you tomorrow about coming to Nantucket.
All right. If we can make it happen, I could fly out Friday, be back Saturday or Sunday. I'm on board. Let's make it happen.
Do it.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks
Have a great night.
Paige.
See you, champ.
You. Bye.
Bye. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our 3-time women's world champion, Paige Pierce. I'm not going out on a limb or anything by saying this, but if Paige showed up and competed in the men's division this last weekend at Worlds with her skill sets and with her throwing and her capabilities, she would have probably cashed in open men. I'm just going to say probably. What, do we have to do some ratings? Checking.
I was gonna look
I'm just gonna say
how far down they paid. They paid down to Chris Becker
in 56, and you can't really compare scores because they played Nob Hill, so on and so forth.
I was just gonna kind of look at rating in general, like what about the average rating?
Things might have been a little different. Maybe her ratings would have been higher, but nonetheless,
1,004, 1,000, and 1,000. I respect Paige in her game, but for her to shoot 3,000 rated rounds, she could do it.
No problem.
But it would be tough.
I've got faith in her.
I do too.
Anyway, so it was great to have her. Thank you so much, Paige. We love and appreciate all of the interaction that you've always given to both the Disc Golf Guy vlogs as well as Smashbox. I didn't say it to her right there on when we had her, but literally within minutes of our show being done, I'm going to hit upload, and you're going to see the first 9, I'll call it the front 9, the first 9 of the very crazy round in their 5th round. So the round that they played Deer Lakes, the round that Sarah showed up late for, I finally today got done editing that first 9.
Okay.
So you'll see Sarah actually arriving at the course. You're going to see some of their interaction. You're going to see some of that stuff. And some of it's a little bit raw and emotional and yet still classy and professional. It's, I don't know. It's,
do you want to take a quick break and get up and change your laundry?
Oh, shoot. I should do that.
Because that dryer is going to take like at least 40 minutes.
Darn it. Yeah, so for those who don't know, or I haven't done very good on the home front, mainly because I've been gone.
Yeah.
And my washer went out and our dryer went out, or washer went out, and with me being gone, we haven't gotten it fixed. Yeah, I'll go do that.
Yeah, go switch it.
What are you going to talk about? No, I
don't know.
You're going to talk about stuff while I'm gone?
Probably talk about you.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. It's got to be all nice then. All right, I'll be back in just a moment. Is this the first ever laundry break?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be back.
At least that people have noticed. All right. So that was a great interview with Paige, honestly. She's one of my favorite golfers in general, and she was very candid with us, which I appreciate. And we're not here to disrespect anybody else, Disc Golf Planet or anything. I just wanted some of her feelings on how she felt that round and that interview and everything went. And there were a lot of people asking us. So that was kind of that. But so as someone said, #truthbombs. We covered a lot of what I was going to talk about on here. The one thing I did see today, and I hope Simon keeps to this schedule of Tuesdays posting this, because did everyone see the big bass drop? The Simon's more or less an MTA throw that he chucked, I don't know, 100 feet in the air, and then had it come smashing down into the cage and catch it. Another standard kind of trick shot that he was that he's been getting widely known for. He performed okay at Pro Worlds. I'm looking right now. He was sitting in 7th. He finished in 7th place, and he had said he had a couple good rounds. He had a couple bad rounds. He did not shoot so well at the semis, which is strange. No, I'm sorry. The semis were at Moraine. Slippery Rock is where he could really do some damage out there, but I know that what he's been doing lately has been kind of crazy. I was just talking about the bass drop. Simon's
I'm back.
Not as I know that was quick. Not as impressive as his 4-putter, but still cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
very cool.
Very cool.
I could do that.
Correct. With enough shots, you throw a putter or something up, have it float. It's an MTA shot, is what I was saying.
Yeah, exactly. Great,
yep.
Great trick. However, I feel it's less skillful than his throwing into the net at certain speeds.
Oh yeah.
And I feel it's definitely less skillful than his 4-putters, which he just came out with.
Yep. The spin, underleg, turn.
Yeah, those two. I of all of his tricks, not that it's not cool. Yeah. I just feel in terms of sheer challenge, that one, albeit cool, is just his least impressive.
It's cool looking, is what it does.
Oh, and
because you basically lose the disc because it gets so small up there and then comes slamming back down. So
and then clearly, whether it took him 1 throw or 101 throws, then it's just a matter of somebody grabbing that file and then doing a little clever editing and doing, you know what I mean.
Sure.
It's not like they hit play on a a recorder, a Walkman, and then he throws and times it. The volume portion or the audio portion comes in afterward.
Oh, I didn't even listen to it with audio.
Oh, are you kidding?
No.
Oh my gosh, that's the whole point.
Oh really? I thought it was just
that is the whole point of the trick. You have to see it.
I'll have to watch it again.
That's the whole point of the trick.
When I watch things or see them online, I'll watch the video because the sound. I'm at work or something, and I don't always have headphones in.
That's what you get for being at work.
Yeah, and I was wondering why he called it the bass drop.
That's the whole point of the
watch
trick.
It now.
Yeah, I'll just say again, cool. That's actually editing I could even handle. And I think that trick I could even handle.
Okay.
It would just take a matter of because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, well, that's throwing an MTA shot up in the air.
Yeah.
Most time aloft. For those of you that don't understand the reference, MTA is most time aloft. It's a common overalls activity, and he just throws it up in the air, and then to have it come back, and you're supposed to catch it cleanly with one hand, and usually you're running after it to get more distance out of it, but it comes in and it lands in an exact spot. I'm guessing that didn't even take him that many tries.
Probably not.
But then they edited together music that goes with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Hence the bass drop.
I'm not going to bother playing it here only because the way the sound works for things to feed it to the board, I might not even be able to hear it anyway. You guys would hear it, but I doubt I would hear it.
I'll say this. What's funny is I did a really quick interview with him at the end of Worlds. Everything was all said and done, awards, all that stuff. Or no, the awards hadn't happened yet. But I did say to him, I just quickly grabbed him and said, what's your next trick? And he said, this one might be my most difficult. Now, I don't know if he's specifically referring to this one, but he said the next one that I'm working on one right now, I just thought of it, and that it may be my most difficult. And again, I'd be curious to know if that was in reference to this one or if he's got another one.
Like I was saying, I would like it if he kept releasing these Tuesday morning.
So we can talk about them every night.
Those Wednesday ones really bother me because I feel like it's old by the time we get it.
Yeah. So either way, another trick. I said, where does his inspiration come? I guess I'm ruining my own interview of my own video I did with him, but I asked him where his inspiration comes from. He's like, I don't know. Sometimes they just come to me. Like he sees cool stuff, but I mean, he's gonna keep at it, so which is pretty cool.
I have a list of things here, most of which we've already discussed. I had Holcomb's accident.
Yep.
We got through that. Stokely's foot fault.
Like I said, we could talk about it another day. I mean,
I'll say this: there's a lot of discussion about it. There's a lot of discussion about possible. I truly don't believe this collusion between two of the players on the card.
Yeah,
I don't buy that. Brian Graham was there on site, so he saw exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. And there was a fourth person on the card who wasn't involved.
I think it was Tom, who had played well.
Okay, so yeah, I don't necessarily think there's any collusion. I do think that the video evidence we have isn't necessarily definitive. It's really hard.
Did you see both angles? Because one angle is not nearly as telling as the other angle.
Sure.
The one angle that you probably saw is more with him off to his left kind of side,
sure.
and where he goes and grabs the camera. That's the video I'm thinking of. And then there was another angle of somebody that was more over his right shoulder-ish in that neighborhood. And they look like two completely different throws by those two different camera angles. So that goes to what many have said is, cameras, whether it's a photo or a video camera, angles can
easily be misinterpreted on
exactly
video.
And still not necessarily tell everyone the story. Now, one of the discussions that's talked about is could and should video possibly be used to make calls?
I'll say no. Not. It's almost like you want to do what a lot of sports are doing, and when you have a judgment call, a true like a foot fault or something like that, you want to. And I guess out of bounds isn't
as
judgment. I mean, there's not a lot of question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is. You can take a provisional. I don't mind if someone were to take a picture or a video, even though a video is not going to do you any good for a picture for an out-of-bounds stationary shot, and show it to a TD after the fact so that you can see, everything. But as far as actual making questionable shots, like at what point, like jump putts from 34 feet, 30 versus 32 feet, someone's going to say, I really think he kind of fell over that. A falling putt, which you may not be able to see everything. I don't think that using video is going to be a good idea. And there's not enough video cameras out there to make it fair.
And that's exactly what we're speaking of. Well, not necessarily that they're not on every hole, but maybe even necessarily that there's not multiple angles. Everybody wants to compare us to football or some of the other major sports. And they're right. Football and an NFL game, there might be literally 16 cameras that are on that particular play. And with us, to even have two is kind of crazy to be close enough to the action. And that, I think, becomes one of the arguments as well. One camera angle, if you just saw the Stokely thing from one angle, I think you have a very different, overall feeling of it than if you saw it from both of the camera angles. So that's some of the things that are out there. Now, what about specifically during the semifinals on Saturday morning? I'm covering the women.
Yeah.
I'm watching their round out at Moraine, playing from the blue tees, and Val Jenkins gets done with hole number 6, which is 1,026 feet from the long. So I think it's like 750 from the blue tees where they played from. 750 feet. They move over to hole 7, as soon as they're done, and everybody calls off their score. Someone says Val, and Val loudly yells 9. Someone's like, yeah, you are owning that 9, aren't you? She's like, yep, 9. And then a few moments later, Val says, I think I had 8. And then all 4 women on the card, you see them like going to the third, you threw the pink one, then you threw the purple, and they're counting back and forth, and they're trying to determine
how many strokes she took. And she's and Katrina's like, no, I think you're leaving one out here, and Val's like, no, I think I threw this one, and they had a lengthy discsion about it, and at one point, it was live.
It was also live on Disc Emerging Spurts Planet, whatever. You were watching it, and at one point, Val kind of turned to both them and myself and was like, well, you guys have it on video. Can't you just go back and look? Mm-hmm. So there is something that I feel is a very objective thing. I could relatively quickly, I could have went back and just clipped through every time I saw her throw a disc.
I'll say
is that a fair and appropriate use of video review? And rarely are we going to have 4 of the top women players in the world throwing upwards of like 30-some shots on a hole to the point where there was actually confusion about one.
Yeah.
But, an 8 versus a 9. As we saw, the Worlds was decided by 1 stroke, and it wasn't with Val, but an 8 versus a 9 does make a big difference.
Now, that's assuming that you filmed every shot of hers.
True. Now, and in my case, I did, but yeah.
For someone like Val, or let's say for that particular hole, Val hits a tree, kicks way off into the right.
Mm-hmm.
And she throws to get out. and she knows she took 3 throws. You maybe didn't film all 3 because you're like, I'm not going in the wood. Look how thick that is. Like, but then it comes out and they're like, oh, Terry, let's check the video. And you can be like, well, I didn't film it all. We can see the ones that I filmed, but then is it even useful? It could be if you film every shot and things like that, and it could be helpful maybe if the group agreed. I don't think there's a rule that says you can't do that particular instance. There's a rule that says you can't use video footage for rulings, but that's not really a ruling. That's more of a clarification of the number of throws. So
I'd have to read the exact rule.
Yeah,
Somebody should Google it. I know it's in the Q&A section as to whether or not videos can be reviewed. And there's always, I won't forget, just earlier in the year, I don't remember if it was this year or last year. I think it might have been last year. I was filming at the Canyon, which is now the Canyon course, at Mike Barnett's Throw Down the Mountain event. Looking forward to 2016. And I was filming it, and Calvin Heimberg I believe it was him, had thrown wide left on hole 16 at this course, and it goes down a ravine. It goes down into an OB area, and Climo had said, well, I think it's right over this tree, and the group said, no, I think it was over these trees, and then there was a matter of being able to spot it, and the spot made a world of difference for his approach.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it in my camera, and I see where it exactly went over as to which set of players were right and which ones were wrong, and again, I need to stay out of it. I can't say anything.
Yeah, that's specifically you need to stay out of it. I mean, you may have the best camera angle, but on another instance, you might not have the best camera angle. It could be a little off, as we saw some perspective skewed. So I think as videographers, we just need to more or less keep our mouths shut.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and you're in agreement with me. We talked about this last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago with Am Worlds and me making that call, that I think as we just need to stay out of it. And if the PDGA wants to take a look at our footage after the fact for some crazy reason, maybe we catch someone kicking a bag or throwing a fit, and people want to take a look at that and see that, that's a different situation. But for the most part, I think our video should, quote unquote, be locked down until after the round.
Yeah, and Jamie Thomas from Spin TV had, I think it was him that had earlier posted basically saying, within our media group, saying, we're there to document it, and that's it. Yeah. We're not there to be part of it. We're there to document it, and that's a good way to pretty much summarize it. What I think is interesting, though, is think back to a very controversial discussion and call, even when, say, Will Schusterich threw into the OB trap, the sand trap, on the 18th on the final hole at the St. Jude event. I was right there. I happened to be filming, but I was right there, snapped a few photos. Yep. And there again, depending on what angle I took the photo at, some people are like, that's clearly OB, that's clearly inbounds, whatever. And what amazed me is the amount of arguments. It was like 50-50 right down the middle, and some people are looking at the exact same photo. Yeah, they're still arguing about it.
And the players who were there were arguing about it, or were discussing it, so to speak. So,
yeah. So those are some of the considerations. What I will say is, I don't agree with, and you kind of even said it, I don't agree with the logic of, well, there's not cameras on every hole, so that's not fair. There's not officials on every hole.
No, I know.
There's different groups that play every hole. Yep. The same wind's not on every hole. I don't like that mentality to say, well, there's a camera on the leader card. What also is on the leader card more often than not?
The people who are going to win.
Well, besides them,
matter.
No, besides them though. But if there's going to be a marshal or an official on a hole, or on a group, more often than that, that's the leader card.
Yep.
Maybe there's been some drama, maybe, whatever's been happening, but that there's also going to be a marshal there.
Yeah.
And Brian Graham probably wouldn't have been out, and I'll use this Stokely case in particular, he wouldn't have likely been out on the 9th card.
No. And someone had said that, Stokely had been called on a foot fault earlier in the week or earlier in the day or something along those lines. I don't believe it was because the calling was that he was too far behind his spot, right?
That was one of the questions. Is that I think you hear Ken Climo in the background saying that you're 2.5 feet or 3 feet off your mark.
That's a significant amount.
So he was, and I didn't pay that much attention to it because I kind of got sick of seeing it all. But I think part of the discussion was if he was, exactly, left, right, too far back, whatever.
If you watch Stokely throw, he's not the most graceful of players. Like he can throw a mile. He can probably accurate, but it looks like his body's a little out of control sometimes when he throws.
Sure.
And whether or not it's just perception or not, so maybe he's not hitting his plant point as accurately as he thinks, and maybe that's something he needs to work on. Being out of the game for so long, and I don't know if that's really that, or if it's just that he just needs to slow down, or if he's not missing his mark. I don't know. So,
well, and again, no matter what we do,
and disc golf is saying if you miss your foot fault more than 3 times in a row, you're cheating. I don't necessarily think that's the case, especially when he's hitting it from behind in a wide open stance. Those 3, 4, 5, that extra foot isn't making a difference at that point. If you're in the woods, yes, that could be a different call, but he's not. I don't think he's intentionally cheating.
Correct, and that's part of the problem though. Is I don't think you can necessarily separate intentional versus not intentional in some of these discussions, only because if I go up to a hole, I'm going to admit this right here on the air. There was once or twice at Worlds I did not place down a mini, and I picked up my putter from under the basket and I placed it in. That's still technically breaking the rules. Let me admit that right here. You heard it here first.
Wow.
I broke those rules. I did. But let me say this. I don't think that I still broke the rules. If somebody stroked me or if I stroked myself or whatever, that would be within the rules. And I don't think just intent. Like people say, well, there's no advantage gained. And you just said it. There's no advantage gained in this open field by the extra foot. I agree. But we have to decide where are we going to draw the line as to if you're gaining an advantage or not. If somebody in my group said, oh, you didn't mark your lie, you're penalized. Yeah, of course I'm not gaining an advantage. I'm underneath the basket. I'm dropping the disc in. But if somebody penalized me, I would have been okay with it.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, I intentionally did not put down my mini, and I intentionally picked up the putter I had when I was underneath the basket and put it in. I admit it. You guys want to DQ me? Scott suggests that you do.
No, I want those ratings to count on his.
No, DQ me. Definitely DQ me. So and then that's also the argument is always in wide open field is an 800-foot hole. Who cares if you miss your lie by 1 inch or 6 inches or 12 inches? But then you go into a wooded course and where 1 or 2 or 6 inches make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Why can we,
If he missed it by enough of a margin where people could tell, it should be called. Period. And Scott apologized for drawing attention to this. I don't know how legit that was. I think he wanted to stir something up, and he wanted to bring up a conversation, which I'm fine with. That's the exact same thing we do. And then, gave a shout out to the girls and their sportsmanship and whatnot. But if you're missing it by that amount that that you can tell, that's no problem. If it's close, if he was missing it by an inch or two, like if you
sure.
You have 12 inches behind your disc or like 13.
You have 30 centimeters,
30
which
centimeters.
is on the board as just said.
11 3/4 inch.
Yeah. You call it 11 inches, call it 12 inches, whatever. 30 centimeters. A good rule of thumb I always do is I place a disc down.
Yeah.
I use a disc which I know is a little over 9 inches, and then I can gauge from there, or about 9 inches.
Correct.
I gauge from there. So so it's kind of funny, and I will say the best argument that I've heard thus far though. Is people always say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's an 800-foot hole, you're not getting any advantage. And I'm not disagreeing with that. But one of the interesting discussions that I think has been out there, and I don't know if there's a way to fix it or address it, is when you throw, whether it's a 500-foot tee shot or a 200-foot tee shot or whatever, you have roughly, usually, 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet by 4 to 6 feet on a tee pad. You have all that room to run up and to throw from, and you have all that variance to use. I think that's the advantage of being on the tee, though.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what Tuegi says. The advantage does not need. If one does not need to focus on the marker, if you have to sacrifice accuracy or power to make sure you land behind your mark. If you're focusing more on your footwork, you may not feel like you can throw it as hard. If you feel like you've got a bigger spot to plant your feet and you can just crush one out there and not really have to worry about where you hit, that is an advantage you're taking. So that's anyway. There are a lot of more idiots out there, if you want to read about it, than us. I mean, we're idiots. I'm sure someone who's not an idiot, I'm sure Zach from All Things Disc Golf may have a great write-up, and probably have better facts and more camera angles, and we're just going to stir things up. So
yeah,
but in general, I think I like Two Eggies situation. Yes, that can help. So
yeah, certainly something to think about. Some people talking about there are people out at league and yeah, whatever. Try and hit your mark. If you don't, there's a chance you could get penalized. I guess that at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. If he missed his mark, he was called on it, and that's I guess the question, the real argument is, did he really miss his mark and should he have been called on it? But if you're breaking a rule, if you are for sure breaking a rule and you get called on it, that's all on you.
Yeah. And that's
so go ahead, DQ me. I think at one
Dairy
point,
Queen you?
Yes, please. I think at one point I just reached down. My putter was underneath the basket. It somehow fell through the bottom or something. No, my putter was underneath the basket, and another competitor on the 15th card in the B pool was right next to me, and I'm like, "Don't look, I'm gonna cheat." And I grabbed the disc and I dropped it in and was out of there in 1 second. If he wanted to say, you know what, disc golf guy, you're penalized, I would have taken it like a man. So
you would have had to.
I guess maybe I'm a bad example. Maybe I shouldn't admit that.
Yeah, I don't think you should.
I did.
I know.
I did it. I also headbutted a putt. I think I have 20 consecutive years at World Championships where I've headbutted a putt, and I did have to wonder if that was totally legal once I did it for the 20th year in a row. So I was right next to the pin.
Yeah.
I'm sure for a birdie attempt. Right. I'm right next to the pin, and I literally take the disc, which we don't have in front of us, but I take the disc and just kind of hit it against my head, and it goes into the basket. I think I've done that all 20
worlds in a row. I don't see why that would not be legal. I'm sure it's a fine.
Could I kick it in?
Sure.
Okay.
You could put it on your foot and advance it with your foot.
So, yes, Sean, thank you for the combos. I appreciate it, providing both cracker and pretzel combos to me. You're the best. Yeah. Anyway, so those were some of the things that were happening at Worlds. Was there any other crazy stuff at Worlds?
Speaking of crazy, you wanna go into that? Disc golf. There's been a lot of talk about Disc Golf Planet and the broadcast quality.
And no matter what we say,
it's going to come off skewed.
So we're going to probably keep that limited.
We're going to keep it limited. There's not a lot we can say without looking like we're petty or something like that.
Or trying to be competitive or demeaning or...
And here's what I'll say. A couple things. One,
all thoughts, views, and opinions now
are that of John Van Derzen, maybe not Terry Miller, and Smashbox Podcast.
But probably.
One, I don't think we're going to see them do a lot of live anymore. I think
they've been out of that realm.
They did USDGC last year, and they did Worlds this year. They're not doing USDGC from what I've heard.
Yep.
Because Jamie Thomas, I think, had cleared that up. And who knows? Things could change. Anything is still possible.
It was confirmed. It was confirmed by the USDGC staff.
Okay.
They will not be producing a live video stream at the United States Disc Golf Championships.
And so
as far as we know of, they have
2 events in a year.
And they have zero schedule. As far as we know, live.
So here's my thought. I don't believe they're going to do a lot of live anymore. They've got their emerging sports program that they seem to be doing pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that the live really interests them much anymore. Considering, I think you had said you talked to Crazy, and it was like a week or two or three prior, and he wasn't even sure if he was on the broadcast or something along those lines. Or he didn't know who he was working for. I don't know. So
he seemed a little confused about what his role was or wasn't going to be, and I had reached out to him. Crazy and I are friends. Yep. I had reached out to him weeks or a month prior to the broadcast, and he just was unsure of his exact plans. Yep. And so he obviously was there. He was obviously doing commentary throughout the entire week. As always, just like with myself, there was a mix of reviews. Some
people love him, and I'll say because I listened to more than you did because I
listened to zero.
You were busy birdieing. Excuse me. You were busy birdieing multiple times on a hole, and so he had his typical crazies. I'll call them. he was talking. Some people love him. Some people think he's hilarious, and
I genuinely think he's pretty funny.
97% of I think what he says is at least humorous, and then there's 3% that doesn't work for you. Does not work for me. He dropped one particularly offensive comment that I wasn't happy with.
Sure.
And I'm not going to repeat it. If you want to find it, it's out there. But I didn't mind his commentary.
Sure.
We talked to Paige, and we had heard their view on it as far as etiquette wise. But as far as the one thing I really dislike, and a lot of people agree with me, is that he goes from a super, super quiet whisper to and I'm not going to yell because we're in my house, to a bombastic yell. And a lot of times that's annoying. And it's bothersome because people are wearing headphones, and
it scares them.
And people were saying that they're getting in trouble at work because suddenly they turn up their volume and it cranks it up. And I bet it can't be that nice for the players.
Sure.
So I'll say, criticism wise, that's my one real big criticism of
sure.
Crazy. I would have put it out on their chat board, but I was banned.
You were banned?
I was banned from their chat board.
Is that because we are seen as competitors?
Sure. I was told not to promote Smashbox, and then I got banned.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how are you were promoting Smashbox?
Not exactly. This was last Tuesday. It was the first day of the broadcast.
My birthday.
Yep. Your birthday.
You got banned on my birthday.
Got banned on your birthday. And someone asked about the podcast and what our broadcasts were and what we were going to be doing. And I just said, our podcast isn't tonight. It's Wednesday night because we're going to let Terry do X, Y, and Z because it's his birthday.
Because I was going to the Pittsburgh Cubs game.
Watch the Cubbies win and this and that. And then there was one other thing asked about it. And
you answered a question.
I answered a question.
Did you provide any links?
Not one.
Did at any point you say Smashbox was a better operation or setup?
Never.
Did you infer that?
Nope.
Then banning seems kind of ridiculous.
I thought so too, and I emailed and let him do that.
Okay. So. Wow. Okay.
But yeah. So
well, that's interesting.
I thought so too. That's right. I created a new account and logged in anyway.
Oh, you trickster.
Trickster.
So one of the things that I'm going to say, and this because the crazy and commentary conversation will go on forever in our sport, because we see things just like on our board right now that talk about Billy Crump needs to be involved, or Crazy does a great job.
It's Matthew Simpson's fault. He's the one that asked me about Tuesday night.
Yeah, Matthew. That was your fault. But whether it's Billy Crump, who people want to hear and see from, or whether they want to hear and see from a Dave Greenwell or myself or a Dixon Jowers, or name anyone.
Yeah.
Here's what I am going to say about all of that, because I'm obviously in the live commentary business from time to time. And this isn't making any excuses, or this isn't giving any passes. But let me tell you, it is 10 times harder than you guys think.
Well, and here's...
Let me just repeat that. Doing live commentary alone, especially, is 10 times harder than everyone else out there thinks. Because one thing I am sick of seeing, and I'm not defending anybody, but one thing I am sick of seeing is Joe Schmo and Jack Schmo on Facebook saying, you and I should be doing this. Let's grab a six-pack. This would be so easy. Yeah. Guess what? Being live,
the
first
first
of all,
2 holes might be easy.
Yeah.
And then you run out of things.
Well, first of all, you included your buddy, so that makes it easier to have a conversation about disc golf. Second of all, you can't be out there drinking and thinking you're yucking it up. And third of all, you have to maintain a level of professionalism.
Yeah.
And people may love or hate your professionalism, but it has to be there. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just telling everyone out there, you cannot, it's not as easy as you think. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm good. I think I'm adequate. I'm just saying it's much harder than most people think.
And it's really funny, and I'm not putting, I feel like I've been doing this a lot today. I'm not putting them down, but a lot of people are like, I want to see the Jomez, I want to see Jomez do commentary and like that. They're awesome. And it's like, yeah, that's great. And they may be, but the only thing you have to base that on is the 30-minute videos they put out.
in post-production, which they could edit and maybe screw up 9 times. I'm not saying they do, but maybe they do.
Exactly, and maybe they could do a great job, or maybe they'd fall flat on their face. I mean, we've seen people, when we did the Birdie Bash, we had Luna and we had, what was her name?
Jennifer Sawyer.
Jennifer Sawyer. And both of them were like, wow, this is way harder than I thought.
Yeah.
Like it just, you run out of things to say. There's only so many times you can, well, especially the Birdie Bash, like so many times, someone runs and doesn't get a birdie and they walk away. But, you have to, people have to think. And I'd love to see more people try just to see, be like, I would love to see the Joe Miz be like, oh my God, guys, seriously, I can't do that.
Sure.
And we're going to find out they're doing. This brings up my. We'll roll off of Disc Golf Planet.
Central Coast. You're confusing people.
Oh,
you keep saying Joe Miz Brothers. Central Coast is doing a podcast.
Yeah, Central Coast is doing a podcast. Joe Miz was doing the thing, but I'm rolling that in to. We're getting some competition starting tomorrow night.
That's what they call themselves.
Yeah, DG Weekly r/Disc Golf.
DG Weekly. You think so?
He said it. He said we're safe for 24 hours.
Bring it.
Yeah, come on. Let's.
I can't wait to get banned off his chat board.
No, so for those of you that don't know, r/Disc Golf is a Reddit board that I frequent quite often and post on and clear things up and get into some silly arguments at times. And they are doing a podcast. They're going to start one up with Ian and DG Weekly and I think Royal Highness is his name on the board. And they're going to do a podcast, and it's going to do tomorrow. They're not doing live like we do on YouTube, so they're going to have a few drinks.
They're already dead to me. I'm just kidding.
I can't get banned from their chat board if they're not live. So I'll be interested to see that. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because they've always been supporters of ours, and I want to kind of get that out there. That look for that, and I'll be curious to see how they put it out and the response they get. And you've got at least one subscriber. It's going to be me once I figure out how to subscribe on what app I'm going to use.
What's
I don't know.
Subscribe?
Yeah, I don't know what a podcast is. So.
Okay, that's going to be tough. Well, that's very cool. We're going to see, we'll see those guys get in, and we're going to see more and more people get in. Obviously, our pals over at Disc Golf Show, I think they're still continuing to put out their podcast. I think they do one every single month. I know they've been utilizing Periscope a little bit more as well when they're doing some of their stuff. So it's great to see so many more people get into it. Everybody thinks it's so competitive or that there's all this drama that we kind of joke around about, but it's not. We love seeing it. Obviously, that's why we reference other people, other companies, and we talk all about different manufacturers, all that same stuff. We spread the love and we try to get it around as much as we possibly can. We're not going to plug your YouTube channel, JR828. No, I'm just kidding.
I've never seen you on our chat board before, so I'm going to say no. If you were someone I knew, I might help you out. But
speaking of calling, and I wish I would have asked Paige this. It was at one point on the tip of my tongue, and I let it slip by. I was going to ask her as to she's good friends with Jeremy Colling. She won, the doubles with him. I didn't see him near the finals, and that's odd. Mainly not because she's doubles partner and a teammate, but mainly because Jeremy Colling likes to be in the mix. He likes to see live action going on. I know he's a fan of disc golf and of solid play. And maybe I was just blind to it because I was running around trying to get action, but I didn't see Colling at the finals. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So I don't know maybe he was lounging, maybe he was watching it live, from his chair, or, on Emerging Planet, but I didn't know where. It was just funny not to see Colling out there. Side note.
Jerome says, and I saw this a lot, if all the current disc golf media combined our efforts, we could do a fantastic broadcast. It's possible.
To some degree.
And there's also, you also have to think the more people you bring in, the more personality conflicts you have, the more struggling.
Stylistic challenges.
Stylistic differences. We have, someone said that they would love to see, Crazy and Dave in the booth and you on the field. I'm like, we did that.
Yeah.
That's called 2011, 2012, I think. And
that's when I had volunteered my services with Disc Golf Planet.
If you can find those videos, let me know. I have no clue where they are.
Yeah, they were out there at one point. So one of the things coming in off the board was what was the delay, and this is certainly worth bringing up quickly. Rebecca Hall Duffy, who is our PDGA board president, she was actually stung by a bee just before the players were getting ready to tee off on the 9th and final hole of Worlds. And she was stung by a bee. She had an EpiPen with her. The EpiPen was injected, but she basically fainted almost instantly.
Yeah, she said, I'm going down.
Unfortunately, this has happened to her a couple other times. Thank goodness she had her EpiPen. But that is ultimately what then caused I'm sure a delay. I don't know what the broadcast did during that time. I have no idea because I was up there.
And it's funny because they didn't say anything.
Okay.
Or at least I didn't catch anything that
Sure.
they had said. But it was just a delay because I remember finally I think that was hole 9, the last hole of the pro, because I wanted to see.
It was the very final hole of Worlds.
Yeah, I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to see the interviews and whatnot because I'd walked away after like hole 1 or 2, and they just cut to a bunch of commercials.
Okay.
And they were just saying delay, and it didn't seem like it was that long. And then when I found out what had happened, I'm like, wow, that happened pretty fast.
Oh, see, I thought it maybe because I was there and physically just a few feet from her and watching it. I know my heart certainly, sped up a little bit because it's. I wasn't traumatizing is a little overstating it, but it's a little unnerving. You're watching someone basically pass out on the ground, someone I know and care about. She's passed out on the ground, and I know this, because of the EpiPen and everything else, that it wasn't a life and death situation for her, but it could have been. And within moments, they had, I believe, called both 911 and campus EMTs, and then that's when we saw a police car and a ambulance come rushing up the hill they actually used hole 13's fairway. Mm-hmm. And at that point, when they were coming up 13's fairway, I turned on my camcorder because someone said, oh, they're stuck or something like that. And I thought, well, that would be kind of an interesting, that'd be an interesting challenge here in the story is, somebody's trying to rush up here and then one of the vehicles gets stuck. That would be kind of silly. And I was challenged because I was recording those 2 cars coming up the fairway, and I guess it's indifferent as to whether or not that's appropriate or not. But like I said, I was filming 2 cars coming up the fairway that were about to.
Yeah, it's fine. You weren't being morbid or anything. Just an interesting sight to see on a disc golf course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and we're glad. Yeah, and we're glad Rebecca's doing fine. She was up and at him 10 minutes later.
Not quite that quick, but
really?
They basically took her. I don't even know if she made it to the hospital, so to speak, but I know they took her away in the ambulance. Her daughter arrived. Her daughter was on site, and then I know shortly thereafter she was okay. She was present, clear.
Someone asked
the whole
if it was like the Uma Thurman scene in Pulp Fiction. Are you familiar with that?
No.
With
I don't remember.
Basically, Uma Thurman has an OD, and they take a giant needle.
Oh yeah,
right in the chest, right through right in the heart.
No, I don't.
No?
That didn't happen.
Why not?
I don't know.
I was thinking this the other day, and it's probably a good thing to know,
how to
EpiPen.
I think you literally just take it and jab it right in the leg.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was her.
Usually the leg or the fatty part behind the butt cheek.
Not familiar with that part. I'm not.
You don't have that extra?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if it was her or someone else that had injected it, but she had it with her, which is definitely the number one thing.
She knows, and that there's a chance of something like this. So
yeah. So she's good. She's all good. Unfortunately, I know it's happened to her in the past. And that's just one of the things you need to be.
She should really stop with the honey, bathing in honey.
Yeah, I'm sure don't bees make honey?
Yeah, they're probably attracted to it though, too, or maybe bathing in rolling in pollen. I don't know what she's been doing, but anyways, glad she's okay.
Of course, we're super glad that she's good.
And she did do a great national anthem, is what somebody said. She did. She sung the national anthem, and she
does all the time for us, which is great.
At the award, not the awards, but at the
opening ceremony.
So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything?
I was just going to real quickly, a couple people had asked more than once whether I tied into a shameless plug for them or not. I don't care. I mentioned earlier Dave Wastebloom, who was also snoring on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. If you heard last week, if you listen closely, you can kind of hear a deep rumble in the background, and it's not an earthquake.
Yeah, so Dave Wastebloom, super amazing guy, works for Night Eyes. He has supported me for a number of years in a number of different situations, including some events that I'm going to be upcoming. And they had released glow-in-the-dark discs, where there are lights that actually turn on in the discs. There's a driver, a mid-range, and a putter. We played in the light-up doubles, which took place on Sunday night at Moraine. The discs were great. Are they perfect? Do they fly exactly like some of your other discs? Not yet. I think there's going to be a little bit of tweaking. I think the mid-range and the putter were a little bit more dialed in than the driver. But anytime you're talking about taking an electronic device and put it into the bottom of a disc that has a battery and it lights up and all this other stuff, trying to get the physics and flight characteristics, exactly honed in.
I know all about it. I saw a lot of Tobu commercials.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, and they have a different technology that's going along with what they're doing, but
yeah, I know.
Same concept, though. You're trying to attach electronics to a disc, which, as we know, you hit one tree, one branch, whatever, it can alter the flight. Well, these discs with the electronics built into them are they're working on them, and I think they're awesome. And I think here in Wisconsin, I may be an exclusive pre-seller or distributor of said discs, and cool. I think I want to have some night golf championships with them. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool idea.
We'll make an event out of it and invite all our favorite Smashies and get everybody there. It's a way to do it. Mike Cousins, good to hear that you just ordered from Dave, and it's awesome. So very cool stuff. And thank you to Dave. Thank you to Night Eyes. I can't say it enough. Dave was he was an awesome roommate, and he's just an awesome supporter. He found himself inside the cash line and outside the semifinals play, which is exactly where you want to be, in my opinion. He wanted to be there. He's happy with that. He cashed, but didn't play in the semis.
Oh, yeah, that's the best way to do it.
And just an awesome guy. So thank you to Dave. Thank you to Night Eyes. It was awesome. So. I think I remember I did have that side tangent about commentating, again, saying that it wasn't as easy.
Yeah.
I did want to remark on that because, again, there's so many people out there that are like, oh, it'd be so easy. Me and my buddy, we're going to get, a six-pack and we could knock this out of the park. Yeah, if you had no filters and you had no one else to worry about, trust me, I could get a little bit rowdy if I didn't have to be filtered.
You guys don't get to hear the after show.
Yeah, I mean, I could get a little bit rowdy, and I could probably be more entertaining. I guarantee it.
I know you could be way more entertaining.
It also may get me
not to be
ever commentate
again.
Yeah, so. Turbo Putt asks if we can get some Smashbox shirts with autographs from guests. It'd be great for growing clubs and prizes. I think that's a perfect idea. I have reached out to Miles. We're going to hopefully have some more Smashbox-related stuff at the Ledgestone, which, of course, we're going to have a presence at. So we're looking forward to that as well and making those available for everybody. So, let's check out your notes. My notes, your notes.
Yeah, these are the show notes. I figured we talked mostly about Worlds. There wasn't a lot of extras going on this week. So
one of the questions that came in, which I think is kind of funny, a little insider info. Where did the name Smashbox come from?
Do we really want to say? Should we just keep it like a mystery?
Yeah, like out there. Yeah. Why two Z's? Two X's. Yeah, those are two X's. Why two X's? Because you can never have enough X's.
Why two Z's? Because we do it so late, I get tired.
I don't think we have Z's.
No, we don't.
All right. With that being said, I think I've only said that twice. I think we can go ahead and cut this. What has it been? It's been 3 hours for a normal podcast. Not even an after show.
That's a pretty good one.
Well, Paige Pierce.
Paige. Favorite interview?
Yeah, she's amazing. We thank her for joining us on the show. We thank Madison for waking up and taking her head out of her book, and
Dana as always.
Dana, of course. Nate for joining us.
Yeah, Nate for his big announcement about the new plastic.
Should we repeat it since it's been asked a few times on the board?
Did I miss it? It's the first thing we talk about. Discraft is releasing a new disc prototype and it'll be in your Ledgestone Players Pack. It's a speed,
along with like 30 other discs.
Yeah, you don't let it get lost amongst all the other discs he's handing out. But it'll be a speed 12 or 13. He said 13, but then I thought he said it was maybe a 12, and I'm sure that'll all get worked out. And they said that they would love some sort of feedback. So if you get it, use it. Not at the Ledgestone, but other places, and give it a shot. Let everyone know what you think.
Yes. If we can, we'll be doing some crazy stuff. We can't even predict exactly or tell you all of it, but next week's going to more than likely be a full-blown Smashbox TV and Disc Golf Guy Media Blitz. The Ledgestone is we're gearing up for it. We're excited about it. We're going to be bringing you live coverage from on the course. We're going to probably have exhibition things. We're going to have podcasts, wrap up, you name it. There's going to be something going on. So we hope that you are glued to us here at Smashbox TV for everything that's going to be the Ledgestone and beyond next week. So this is podcast number 48 again. Thank you to Paige Pierce, Nate Heinold, Dana Vici, our amazing guests. We got to thank Johnny V here at the controls. I am, again, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We look forward to seeing you sometime next week, if not multiple times next week, when you step inside the Smashbox. Dun, dun, dun.
We're still streaming, but we're officially done recording the podcast.
Oh,
so
no.
Anything we say from here on out will not be released to anyone other than everybody on YouTube.
Oh, the YouTubes. Discraft. All right, let's start reading a few of our nifty
Country
comments.
Disc Golf, no IT work accomplished during Ledgestone. You and me both.
Yes, or me. I will not be getting it done.
Someone said Discraft should name the disc the Smashbox. There you go.
I don't
Clayton
know.
says he's recording. He can put out his own Smashbox after show.
Yeah, somebody could record this. That's all. That's DG Weekly. We're on to you. You're just gonna record ours. I think
he went to bed a while ago.
Whatever. I'm excited to hear to see what Disc Golf Weekly is going to do. So let's recap real quick. They are not doing it live.
They are not going to do it live because they said they want to kind of get their feet under them first before they decide they're going to get in front of camera.
Okay.
Because they're kind of chickens. That's what I heard.
Gosh,
I mean,
chickens?
we came right out of the gate, made an ass of ourselves live in front of people.
Yep.
And they're not going to.
Wow, weak.
Weak sauce. No, but they're just going to do a regular audio podcast to start out with, and then they'd eventually said they're going to maybe try to work in video because each of them have YouTube accounts that can do live. They have enough followers and all that other stuff, so they're going to try that eventually.
Yeah, okay.
At least they say they will. Let's let them.
Let's see what they say.
Yeah, let's see them.
Disc Golf Answer Man. Now, are they released specifically on a certain day? Isn't it?
I have no clue.
Well, you should get on it. Our pal Emac and
Bobby. Bobby said he was mistaken for you a couple times this weekend, and I asked if he had a hat on because there's no way that with your on point hair that people would mistake you for Bobby. Maybe a little bit in the face and the facial hair depending on what Bobby's doing, but
he's got a darker complexion than I do.
He does, yeah. But I could see maybe from a distance. You both have cameras. You're always, I could understand that.
Yeah.
I apologize to Bobby for that. But
I think that's a compliment to
sure.
me.
However, to you, yes. However you look.
Now you can tell us what you really think. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
No,
do you guys ever do the
can't.
dude clothing? But we didn't specifically talk about dude. We need to put it on our schedule for next week. I now can very comfortably discuss the Fossa bag. I did meet the owner.
Oh, good. I used the Fossa bag again for my practice round. I took all my discs out of my ridge roller and I put them into my Fossa bag along with like 12 other discs because there was so much extra room in there. And I took it out for a round over at Estabrook this past weekend. So I have a little bit more experience with it. I have plenty of experience after this these 5 rounds during this previous week. So next week we need to put it on our notes. We should put it right in that's going to be right in Ledgestone week. But anyway, a quick review of the Fossa bag, or in depth, whatever you want to call it. A review of it. Do you like it? I do. Okay. Well, short. Overall, super quick review. I like it, and it's at a great price point. Yeah. Did you have any problems with it tipping over? Only when you don't have enough discs in it. Yeah, because I was about to say, because I noticed when I stuffed it with more discs, it didn't. It never tips for me. It only tipped over once. Whereas when I had less discs in it, it tipped over way more. Correct. This time, and I think it was just because the way I put it down, it just fell face forward. But I didn't. No, it's about how many discs you have in there. What is the best world's gossip? I can't share it all with you. That's the best part about the best world's gossip. Because it's all right here, and it came in this good ear, which is my good ear. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and that sounds like a jerk to say, but a lot of it's not for public consumption. Yeah. I'll say this: here's some good gossip that's not gossip. Paige Pierce and Jeremy Colling are not dating.
Oh, that's out there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There was discussion about how...
Okay, fair enough.
Because a lot of the couples played the mixed doubles.
Oh, okay,
and
sure.
Because I'm fairly certain that someone said that Zoe and her and Dustin Keegan, someone on the group, someone in the card said that they were dating. And I said I didn't know, and that I didn't.
Last time I checked with her, she said no.
And that's what I thought too. So that was what has been communicated to me. But somebody said that they talked to her who was on their card at Mixed was following around, and she had said they were or something. So
okay, well then maybe let's call her.
I don't know. No, I'm not.
Zoe,
she's actually an hour away from us right now.
Yes, she's in Madison
doing a demo, a dolls demo clinic. So there was that, and then so a lot of people mistaked that maybe Paige and Jeremy, because they're such good friends and they're so close, were dating, and that was on the board when I was under my assumed name. I said no, I'm fairly certain they're not.
No,
but when you're under an assumed name, you have a lot less weight you carry. Whereas if I were under my own name, people would be like, oh yeah, John probably knows what he's talking about. But the other guy doesn't. So, but no, they are not dating.
They're not dating.
They are just very good friends.
Yep, very good friends. Do I have a personal account? I think was asked in terms of Facebook. I have. They're both called Terry Miller now. That went through a whole Facebook
real name
thing. But one is Terry Miller that has me holding a camera from last year's Worlds at Blue Ribbon Pines. That's like my, I don't want to call it my more personal account. That's my more non-disc golf related account. And then the other one has my Disc Golf Guy logo. That is my more Disc Golf Guy, more DG related account. And then I started the Disc Golf Guy fan page because my Disc Golf Guy account can't accept any more friends. So I hate the fan page idea because it's way less intimate. Yeah. You can't tag people.
Correct.
You can't make the same types of posts. I hate it. But anyway.
Someone else is claiming they forced me into hiding on the live stream. No. I mean, I don't know who it was.
The question I saw out there was, will we be part of the 2016 live coverage? We don't know that. Yeah, I mean, Bobby Brown and Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, Bobby Brown of Dynamic Disc, as well as Jeremy Rusko, they know our intentions. They know where we stand. They know...
we've worked with them in the past.
We have a great relationship with them. And, I mean, there's probably going to be some PDGA conversation there, as the PDGA is the owner of the World Championship rights. So we certainly cannot say that we're doing it, but we certainly cannot say that we're not doing it. Yeah. So that'll be a conversation.
We'd love to be involved in some way.
Correct.
Whether that's post-produced rounds or Terry crushing plastic like he has been for 20 years, or what. We'd love to be involved. We just don't know.
Gossip, Terry really mugged me for the combos. I wouldn't mug anybody for cracker combos. That's just silly. I don't know who does that.
Yeah, that is quite an alias. Cool Daddy Slick Breeze.
Yeah.
That is a...
It doesn't get... I love it.
Yeah.
Cool Daddy Slick Breeze. Make another Facebook account. No, I'm not going to make another one because then I feel really awkward because it would be like Disc Golf Guy and Disc Golf Guy, and I don't understand that. I know Barsby's joked about it because he's got like 2 or 4 or 6 Facebook accounts. Holly Finley has like 2 or 4 or 10 Facebook accounts. Nico and Felberg, I'll call them both out. They both have like 2 or 4 or 10 Facebook accounts because they keep getting to the 5,000 Facebook limit and then make another account.
William Buckley says grade Pittsburgh Worlds.
Ooh, 1-letter grade.
Overall, from your experience.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with my play. That's an A-. No, I would give them. Gosh, I gotta give them like an A- overall, though. Honestly, I may have spoke too soon, but I know I played Slippery Rock all of the 4th, and then I went and played Moraine on the 5th. Mm-hmm. When I got to, then I played somewhere. Did I play Deer Lakes? Yeah, I played Deer Lakes last. And then I played Moraine on the 6th, and on the 7th, Friday at Deer Lakes. The one criticism I'll say I have of the entire event. There wasn't water at Deer Lakes on Friday, and water's my own responsibility as a player. I understand that. I had complimented them up and down at Slippery Rock, and I complimented them up and down at Moraine, and then I got to Deer Lakes on Friday, and water was almost impossible to find.
Sure.
And I'm not blaming anyone. It just, for whatever reason, I'm sure they had other challenges.
Yeah, it just sucked that it wasn't there.
It wasn't. I don't want to say nearly as abundant. It was virtually none.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was an oversight or a mishap or a volunteer that didn't show up. Whatever. I didn't get rowdy with anybody. But
where's my water?
That was the and again, that's
drink
minor.
100 ounces before.
Yeah, thanks, Macbeth. That was the only thing that was really. And then on a course perspective, and it's funny because I had a conversation with Chuck Kennedy. I had a conversation with Ken Climo when it came to courses, and we were all in agreement on about 5 to 8 particular holes out of the 3 courses I played, and we all agreed less trees on a few particular holes. And I feel like that's good company. If I can agree with both Ken Climo and Chuck Kennedy on a few particular holes and a few particular trees, that's all.
Disc Golf 724 says there's water fountains everywhere at Deer Lakes.
I didn't see them. I know there's one down on hole 7. And I didn't know if it was good or not. I mean, I know I don't want to sound. Oh, it's not snobby. You never know these days when you go to a fountain and or a well at a park. Mm-hmm. You don't know if it's good or not. I mean, if the water's good. Anyway, I never saw one. So, okay. I just missed them.
Trees are the enemies. Burn them to the ground, says Jeremy Roy.
No.
Roy. No,
I'm talking about literally a dozen select trees I wish didn't exist out there. A dozen.
Just make us a little bit cleaner fairway. On
a few select holes in a few select spots. I love treed courses.
Yes, like the course we play here, Valley View. Very wooded. Northwoods, one of our favorite courses, is nothing but trees. And Colebrook, one of your absolute all-time favorite courses, is short and technical and
no, I love trees, but there's a few particular ones that I could do without. Does the Fossa bag have a back pad on it? It does have some back padding on it.
Yeah, William says it's pretty cushy.
And it's cushy. I feel like those fountains are poisoned. I don't know. Again, I don't remember seeing. I think I do remember seeing something that resembled like an old school well or something or a pump on 7, but I would have never thought to walk up to it. And half the time when you find stuff like that, it's inoperable.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's classic. So.
You don't know if it's good or not. But that would be my only.
My assumption is if it works, it's good. They wouldn't put it there. They wouldn't let it work if it wasn't good. But
maybe like I said, I didn't even really notice them.
That's fine. So what's your letter grade?
I would have to go A-. Like,
that's good.
It was one of the most solid world championships put together. I mean, things were on time, except for the women's round. No, but things were on time. The schedule was set, and you knew what was going on and where it was going on. It's not their fault. It's just there wasn't as much camaraderie, I feel like, as you find at some of the togetherness. And
you said the courses are pretty spread out.
The courses were kind of spread out, and so. And there may have been more people at the host hotel, but it didn't seem like as many people took advantage of staying there. I don't know if it's because of the price.
And we've seen that in years past now. That the host hotel used to be when we started in like the late 90s, early 2000s, the host hotel was the place to be. Like,
yeah, correct.
Everybody was there hanging out, chatting. And now it's A, the sport is getting bigger, so you can't fit everybody at one hotel. But B, the host hotels seem to be getting more expensive because they're nicer places. And it's just... people are not staying at host hotels as much, so it's spread out, so you don't have that central camaraderie as much anymore.
Correct. Yeah, for all those reasons. So, how can you spend so much time with Smashbox and keep a daytime job? Can y'all keep this up? At some point, I hope you can make a living doing this. That's a great question. For those that don't already know, Johnny V does work a full-time IT position here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And for myself, disc golf is my full-time job. So earlier today, I was at the Youth Futures is the name of the group. It's a nonprofit group that focuses on alternative things for kids to do that are not drug and alcohol related. And so for the 9th year in a row, we had a disc golf outing. We had something like 48 people, including, I think the youngest was 6 and the oldest were in their 60s. and they had a round of disc golf at a very short, beginner-friendly course. So, but earlier in the day I was editing, and later in the day I was doing some disc inventory. So I kind of wear a dozen different hats, except for when I'm on the air. I don't wear any anymore. So, yeah. When we're going to make a real salary at this, we're a long ways away from that.
Yeah, and as far as me, how can I keep a day job and do this? It's not too tough. I've got a pretty flexible job.
You don't do much at either here or there. I'm just
kidding. When you found a place that you like, you don't have to do much. That's kind of how it is. So no, and I'm fortunate that my job is pretty flexible. I can work from home occasionally, and I can take vacation when I need to for some of their longer events and things like that. And my favorite layer of the OSI model is definitely the application layer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got HTTP, FTP, SMTP. That's all the stuff you use.
Yeah. Duh.
Yeah.
What about presentation?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
And we're looking at the layer model right now.
No, we're not. We know this off the top of our head.
Yeah, we took classes on. Actually, I don't think that.
I think we did.
I don't know if the OSI model was ever in any of our classes because we didn't.
It sounds mildly familiar, so I'm going to say it does.
No, Terry and I shared a lot of college classes, and we never took a core networking class, which is what this probably would have been in. Instead, we took some programming classes, which were really useless to us now.
Yep.
So I also like the network layer. Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
IP, ICMP, IPX, because I do a lot of stuff with routers and things at work. So.
Yeah, like the roto-rooter, you call them, don't you?
Yeah, the rotor. You need a roto-rooter or something.
Terry, I heard you were a putting champ. Looked for footage but found none. Then you didn't look hard enough, my friend. 2011 World Championships. They took the top putters from the World's competition and then put us on the beach in Santa Cruz for the speed putting World Championships, kind of an offshoot. And I was fortunate enough to crush all of the best putters in the world, including Josh Anthon. Yeah. So yeah, no, I won that. 2011. It's on the beach. There's a link out there. Now I want to look. Speed putting Santa Cruz disc golf guy Terry Miller. I'm not sure, but believe it or not, I don't have this link saved.
Sure, he doesn't.
Oh, here we go.
Ubiquity routers. I don't use any Ubiquity routers. Pretty much everything I use is Cisco based, just because that's the way I roll.
Mm-hmm.
So, will there ever be a line of Smashbox fundraiser discs?
Yes.
We've actually been working with somebody, and I'm not going to mention any names yet, about some fundraising plastic. Not for us, actually. Not fundraising for us. Fundraising for a different, for a charity.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, we don't really. I mean, I can say we don't need fundraising because we can always use cash. Because,
what are you talking about? Have you seen my lack of paycheck? We need fundraising.
I know, and because there's equipment that we would love to buy. I think the next.
And there's a paycheck I'd like to get.
Yeah, but that's not fundraising, so to speak. I mean, that's. I mean, it could be, but that's not how I would like to make our money.
I would like to put money in my pocket.
I know you would. I would not like to raise it via fundraising or yearly memberships or anything like that. That's just not how we want to roll. We love support, and I will never turn down someone donating some cash for a broadcast if they feel they get value out of it, for a podcast or a broadcast for that matter. But yeah, I don't know. It's anyway,
we're working on some.
We're working on something for a charity right now, and then we wouldn't mind doing like a shirt or something like that. That would put a little bit of money in our pocket. So
yeah, we're gonna come up with something or another at some point. I was rudely awoken and informed you called some people chickens.
DG Weekly, I don't know what you're talking about.
Were you? Why were you awoken? Were you?
Who woke you up? Who's watching this and you're not? Oh, honey, you fell asleep and I was watching the podcast you left on.
I'm just saying,
I think they called you out.
Yeah, if you got people called you fraidy cats for not doing it live. That was exactly it.
DG Weekly.
What's going on? Our good pal Mike Ramstock asks, what's going on with Barry Schultz? Did he retire? I miss rooting for him. He's in South and North Carolina winning stuff down there, and there's a lot of conversation as to Whether or not he's going to attend another Worlds, I don't know if it's just the strain and
the financial cost of traveling for an entire week plus to practice courses and this and that. It might not be
when you can stay home for a lot less and win just as much money. I'm not sure. I will say this. I almost look forward to not playing in a Worlds because then I can just stay local maybe, and when all the really good guys are gone, you got a better chance to do well. No. That might be one, but anyway. Terry Miller, disc golf guy, wins putting at the beach. Maybe Google that, I think is what Roddy is suggesting. If you type that in, you might find me. Schultz won a C tier this weekend, 2 in a row, is what was said. So he probably won some decent money down there in and I'm guessing North Carolina. And we talk about that all the time, Look at Bradley Williams a couple years ago. Wins, 30 or 40 or whatever tournaments it was, hardly leaving the state of Texas. He probably gained more money than if he would have gone out and done just decent at a bunch of other bigger events.
Yeah.
Chris Herron, for many years here in Wisconsin, same with our little Scotty Too Hottie, our jeans-wearing friend.
Yeah.
They feel like, well, I could sleep in my own bed and I could win a few $100s here locally rather than traveling and playing against even better people.
Yeah.
And having bigger expenses, so sometimes it's easier just to stay local.
Someone asked, and you mentioned this, so they might not be caught up, but what does MTA mean? And that is most time aloft.
Or max time aloft, either way, but yeah.
Yeah, depending on your asking. It's basically just, it's another Frisbee game where you throw a special Frisbee disc, or, you can use any disc really, but I think for sanctioned events it's something particular, and you throw it up like Simon did, and you catch it. And you have to catch it with one hand. You have to catch it cleanly. Can't hit the ground clearly. And they time you on how much time it is up there. So, and almost all the time it's a throw just like Simon did, so that it comes back towards you. Sometimes it'll fade off left or right. You need to chase it. That's where the fun comes in.
Yeah.
Does a birdie bash need to be sanctioned?
Sanctioned by the PDGA? No, absolutely not. In fact, I don't think any of them were, except for the final one. So I'm not sure how that exactly worked out, but I don't think any of them across the country were, whatsoever.
Have we formed a 501c3 for Smashbox? No.
We have not. I'm not sure we'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to be a for-profit company.
God, I hope so someday.
Mm-hmm. I'm all for profit.
Yeah.
So, no, we will not be doing a 501c3. You can support us. You can... you'll be able to find ways to sponsor us.
I like that.
Maximum time before base drops. A few buddies played it, and it was a good one. Yeah, the Birdie Bash is certainly a really good time.
I don't think he's talking about the Birdie Bash anymore.
Oh.
I think he's talking about a different
overalls?
Event.
Guts.
Some Ponderosa event.
Okay. Lots of different things.
Anyway. Yeah. I don't know if we have much else now.
Hybrid...
I think.
And the question that did come in was hybrid golf courses, disc golf, ball golf. I've said it before. My first gut reaction anytime somebody talks about a ball golf, disc golf course is, generally speaking, I think long and boring. And some have proved me wrong. But I think there's a stereotype out there that it's going to be long and that it's going to be kind of boring, because there's only going to be so many trees that will come into play. And more often than not, I have found just that. And I think I've run disc golf tournaments on 4 or 5 different ball golf courses. And each time I've worked very hard to break that mold as best as I can to not just make them long and boring. So I think that's the first hurdle if you're hosting an event. And I think Chuck down in North Carolina, I haven't seen any of his designs or him and working with a Barry Schultz or whomever. I'm guessing they're great, and he keeps people going, and they probably are great. I wouldn't know, but when I immediately think of a ball golf, disc golf course, I think long and boring. So that's my gut reaction. I got a big gut, so big reaction. Talks about different courses that, and again, obviously there are some that have probably broken that mold. But more often than not, that's how I feel. We had a solid group of people here watching tonight, more than 115, 120 or something like that. Yeah. Obviously, all due to Paige Pierce.
Paige brings the thunder.
It wasn't Nate.
No.
It wasn't Dana.
No, I mean, and people might have tuned in to see Nate, and what they didn't realize is that we put him right at the top of the show, because we're not all about teasing you guys.
No.
We put him at the top of the show, and people chimed in, but, Paige kept people's attention. It significantly jumped up when Paige was on.
Yeah,
so.
Which is great. That's exactly what we love to see. Spike Heiser is a tournament mill. He's got the whole process very polished. I hear nothing but good things. I would assume, and I guess I'd say this: if I ever did play a ball golf, disc golf hybrid course or tournament and get into another one of those again, it sounds like one of his would be certainly worth checking out.
People are asking you should do an AMA on Reddit. Do you know what AMA is?
Yeah, American Music Award.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. And ask me anything. No, here's my question to that.
What? Well, my question is:
is there any filters? Is there anything I can just flat out do?
Yes,
because people ask outrageous things.
Just not answer questions.
And does it have to be typed, or is it like I've seen like Central Coast? Don't they do a
for Central Coast? They've done a couple of AMAs where they get questions beforehand, and then I believe they kind of filter them. You don't want questions like, "Oh, Terry, who are you dating?"
Yeah.
Stupid things like that. And no one needs to know your girlfriends.
No.
Your wife might watch that.
I know. Or she might not.
Probably not. And things like that. Or you can do a traditional Reddit AMA, which is, people type questions and you answer them, the ones you want to answer. But it's like a running board like this. Like, you could ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could ignore questions on here, which we do at times. So, but I'll say this about an AMA. We're pretty open and honest with just our questions for after shows.
Yeah, we are.
There's not a lot that I'm going to say on an AMA that I'm going to say here, and vice versa.
Very true. Yeah, we're usually pretty blunt out here.
There's very few things that we keep from you. I'll be honest.
Should including bring on Katrina Allen. That'll keep people's attention. I'm sure at some point we'll have Katrina back on. She was one of our very early guests.
Yeah, she was. She was like our sixth guest, I think.
I think even before that possibly. But we've had both her. We've had Paul on. So at some point I'm sure we'll get her on. Jim asked, should Paige not have one because of Sarah's situation?
No.
No.
Paige should have one, is what I'm saying.
Should Paige not have one? No. She should have one.
Yes, she played by the rules. She had the least amount of strokes. It's unfortunate the situation happened to Sarah. And obviously you saw with Paige, if Paige could have had it a different way, she would have. But you play by the rules that are given to you at any given point. If the rules change in the future, that's the way it works. My thought is, I'm glad Paige did it the way she would have. It would have been epic had she thrown it. It would have been a whole different type of conversation and a whole different, people were saying like Paige may have an asterisk next to her name.
Which is totally asinine.
Totally asinine.
Asinine.
Yes.
Asinine.
I agree.
I'm just repeating that. Asinine.
But I was saying, you could say the same thing had Paige thrown it and Sarah had won. Then Sarah's name would have the asterisk next to it and whatnot. So you're in a no-win situation.
Yes.
And Paige should have won, and she did the right decision. And I think that even Sarah would admit that, yes, she did what she should have. I mean, it sucks for Sarah, but next time, don't get rear-ended. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No. It's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Who would win in a slap fight between us?
Me. I've got the reach. Yeah. And actually, I was going to say this.
A tickle fight. I don't know.
You would win because I'm very ticklish. You're not so ticklish, I don't think. I'm not going to find out.
So you say.
This shot that we have here, I noticed that it's a little crooked, so it makes you even look shorter than you are right now. And we're both kind of slouchy in general, but yeah, if you notice, the Smashbox kind of goes
is
up.
Crooked. Yeah, jerk.
I noticed that. It must have been
in your favor. Go figure.
It is crooked in my favor. So.
Yeah, thanks a lot, jerk. Padding. What are you saying, Sean? Just kidding. I know exactly what you're saying. Again, reach advantage. She has a big heart and she has the utmost sportsmanship. I don't know if you're talking about Paige or Sarah, but they both do. So That was awesome. Paige could have been saddled with an 888.
Had she probably thrown a couple extra shots, maybe? I don't know. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, technically she could have been. If we're going by letter of the law,
DQing because you're
no, that's not DQing. She could get it. You could get an 888, which is when you basically intentionally throw it to adjust your rating or something.
Correct, yes. Circumvent the rules or something.
Yeah, that would have been interesting as well. I thought you guys were doing the JVD Gandalf to Terry Bilbo trick. Yeah, no. Is Terry was a Smurf? Which Smurf would he be? Can you name more than like 3 of them?
Barely. I can name Papa Smurf.
Yeah, it's the easy one.
Smurfette.
Yep, that's another easy one.
Is there like a handy Smurf?
I don't think.
There's the one that does all the tool stuff, but I can't. I don't know if his name is.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry, don't know. Do you believe in nicing? Absolutely not.
No.
I think it's so dumb when people get worked up.
I've seen a lot of things lately on Facebook about, I hate it when people nice my disc. It's like, once that disc leaves your hand, there's nothing I can do to change that shot. I don't care how nice I say. I don't care how much it's not changing your shot.
No, I'm sorry. I hate it. I think it's dumb.
Yeah. If I think you have a nice shot and it gets out of your hand cleanly and you hit the line you were looking for, and I say nice, and then you hit a tree, sorry.
Yeah, to think it affects it, I think is crazy.
No, I don't know if anyone truly thinks it affects it. I think people just think it's bad luck. But
I don't know. I also don't really believe in karma. So
the whole Sarah played in the middle of your interview.
What were they and how did she do? Yeah, we talked about that a little bit briefly, but she played hole 7, which was supposed to be her starting hole. She played hole 7, and she banged like a 50 or 60 foot putt. Paige says 60, I say 50, whatever. She banged a really, really long putt to get the birdie 2. And then hole 8, which is the uphill with the landscaped and elevated basket, she threw, approached, and then tapped in and took an easy 3. So in theory, if they somehow would have counted, she played those in 1 under versus playing those in 8 over. Mm-hmm. So that's a 9-stroke swing. Yeah. I will say this was said during the podcast, and I glazed over it and did not address it. And it was Chuck Kennedy who had said, he's interesting that a few years ago they had changed the rule that when you miss a hole, it was par plus 4. It used to be par plus 3.
Yeah.
So, again, all things the same. Mm-hmm. Par plus 3 for Sarah for those 2 holes means she wins Worlds by 1.
Yeah.
Instead of losing it by 1.
What?
Total is completely side note. There's no conspiracy theory here, but I'm just saying it's a side note, which I do find kind of interesting.
Yeah. I feel bad, and I don't know what happened, but Hokum's last putt could have been one of the ugliest things I've ever seen.
I know exactly what happened.
And
this is the insider.
Oh, here's your inside scoop. And I'll say this before I understand yanking that putt. Like the nerves or anything that could have happened. She had about it looked like about a 50-footer, 40 to 50 feet. And I'm thinking like, okay, all right, awesome. And then she puts up just the ugliest
attempted run. I don't remember it being that bad.
It was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad from the angle.
I have
the angle that
footage.
we had, it looked really bad.
Okay.
And I'll say this, like, it just kind of like deflated. I was like, everybody was rooting for her to hit that. Everybody wanted to see it to go into extra holes, except for Paige, probably.
No, Paige wanted to see it actually.
Well, sure, but I'm sure that would have added even more stress to Paige just thinking that way. It was from the angle we had, it just looked sad. Like, oh, what a bad way to end that. So. Well,
and I spoke to her about that.
Sure.
Sarah specifically about that, and all the way down to that final putt. And she said she totally messed up. She said she felt like she putted really well all week.
Yeah.
And everything else. She's like that. Oh, maybe we didn't talk about the final putt. I think we might be talking. I'm sorry. I think her and I had an elaborate discussion of her first putt on the final 9, where she missed, and then it rolled OB. Yeah. She's like, I was running at it, and it was in a goofy distance where I should have been jump putting and running at it, or I should have been laying it up. But she's like, I kind of stood there and gave it a run, but not from a distance where I really am comfortable doing that from. And she wasn't happy with her very first putt of the final 9 either. Now you really have me looking as to.
I know I'm right now. I am scrubbing through some footage from Emerging Sports and seeing if I can find it. I don't know what this portion is right here.
Is that? I was gonna say that look like. Is that me? That's me. I bet you. I guarantee you.
I believe it's you. Oh, it looks like. Are they walking towards the scoring tent here?
They're walking down in the final hole. That's 9.
Okay, so this is hole 9. I wish I could. I hate this player. I
can't skip around. Or?
I can. It's just it's because it's such a long thing. It's really hard to skip around. Whereas if YouTube, it gives you more of like the zoom in, and I can watch it at like double speed and things like that.
Okay.
But it is, yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the final. Here's the putt you're referencing.
Yeah, and I wanted this because I want you to see this angle. So the angle that we had looked pretty bad. The way it looked like she just threw it up. Okay, so that looked way better.
Yeah, it does, because that looks like she just missed it.
Yeah, that looks like she just missed it. Whereas of the angle that we had, it just looked really bad.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah, so from my angle, it looked totally, looked fine. It looks like she just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, no, I think even a lot of other people mentioned that, like, it was just like, wow, like, for as well as she'd been doing, that putt just came out very poor.
Okay, and I was going to say, nobody really expected her to make that. I mean, it would have been a huge putt had she.
It would have been a huge
But I mean,
putt.
It's not like she missed the most obvious little gimme.
Is this after?
You're already past it,
Right.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, you are. Just use your little player and go back.
It's so hard to go back like 12 or 15 seconds. So.
Huh, interesting. Scroll up. I think we missed a little bit of some of the action.
Yeah, everyone's saying they puckered.
Oh yeah, see and I got niced by 7 different at the same time. I thought the apocalypse is coming. Yeah. It was 4 feet right. See, and from my angle, this speaks to camera angles.
Yep.
From my angle, we just watched it here on my local computer.
Yeah.
It looked like a perfectly legitimate run.
Yeah.
I mean, perfectly legitimate.
Yep.
Did they talk about the Stokely foot fault? Yeah, we talked about that in some detail, not a ton. Let's take a bet on when Nico stops kicking, yelling, banging his head, and launching himself. I'm calling age 56.
And you'll take the over. I'll say this: Nico had, he had a meltdown point. You could see. You could see it was coming.
Okay.
He started to perform poorly, and then he had a putt that rolled out. It was the one hole that I think you said you deuced, the little Dinker Anheuser on one of the
hole 16.
Hole 16
out at Slippery Rock.
Yeah. No. So I'll say this. Here's the angle that we're gonna get. Yeah. So anyway, so he rolls down like 50 or 60 feet away, comes back. He misses. He starts swatting at things, and then the camera goes away and he drops a big F-bomb. You could hear it.
Oh.
Yeah. I want to say that this angle just makes it look so pathetic. And I don't mean any disrespect to her, but just the way it came out of her.
I mean, that's and how far is that?
It's a good distance. I mean,
she's 50 feet.
She's looking at just shy of 50 feet, I think. But
Stephen Winslow says that Nico called himself winning 2016 Worlds.
Yep. No. All right. So now this is where Sarah's lining up, and
oh wow,
it just doesn't look bad from that angle, like.
Yeah, I mean, she did not give that the run she was hoping to give
correct.
it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's just the way I didn't expect such a high putt, and the way it's just the way everyone's watching. Everyone's like, ugh. Like there was just such a letdown after that moment because everyone's rooting for her.
Of course.
So
wow, and like you said, and like we said, wow, just that angle.
That angle basically versus the angle I just saw you on your computer.
Yeah, mine looked like it's a totally legitimate run.
Yep, like yours, like she just looked like she just missed it just a little bit right. Whereas this one, you could see she clearly didn't even give it a chance.
Yeah. Well, again, I talked to Sarah. She was in amazing spirits, super gracious, and just. I don't know. She was so down to earth when I had a conversation with her on Sunday as I was driving home, and I just applaud her in so many ways. She would not have wanted Paige to throw it under the basket. She would not have, taken the win that way. She just, it is what it is, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and.
That's a tough cross to bear for a professional golfer. I think talking about having the skills, but not necessarily the mental game
like Nico has. Yeah, and we all know a lot of those guys up there have the skill, but just can't seem to put it together for 6 consecutive rounds to keep up with Macbeth.
Yeah.
And how good of a putter is Own?
I do an interview with her at one point, which you guys will see.
She's one of the few women golfers that walks up to like a 20-footer and doesn't think about it. And puts it in.
She makes a death putt on one of the holes that soon to be released. Spoiler alert. She makes a death putt that is like, I don't believe you're running at that, let alone making it. She knows, and she talks about it in one of the interviews, that she can make up for her lack of different distance by putting.
Yeah, and she does.
And that's what's amazing.
That she had some.
You should pause that so I can take a look at it.
I will. That she had some rough foot faults.
Oh.
In the fairway, and that nobody called her on it.
Oh, okay.
Because maybe she doesn't.
Maybe
hit her
Stokely
mark.
will call her on it.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
So.
Okay.
Yep.
Nico puts in the hard work. Yeah, Nico works hard. I know he goes out and plays. I know he practices a lot.
Yeah.
He plays with just sheer emotion, and he's got an unbelievable amount of talent.
And yes.
And if somebody said to me, I'll say this: if somebody said to me, Nico in 10 years, Nico's won 2 out of the last 10 world championships, I wouldn't bat an eye. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's funny.
And if he never wins one, I can't say I'd be surprised either. But he's clearly got all the skill sets. He's a USDGC champion. He's been a top contender at the World Championships. I mean, there's no doubt about it that he's got the skill sets. It's just, like you said, a matter of being able to put it all together for 6.5, 7 rounds.
Yeah, and he, I'll say this: he missed some easy putts.
Did he?
Like, it just looked like his short game putting was off. And I used to say that you give me one person to hit a 50-footer, and I'm taking Nico, hands down. Because a couple years ago, that guy was just money from everywhere. And it seemed like he just, front of the basket, it was always low coming out of his hand if it was missing. Because he barely gets them up over, it looks like. He never brings them up high chain. They're always just squeaking over the rim. So, yeah. And I think Nico's a little bit hard on himself. But I think maybe it's tough when you know that every putt you miss, some guy's gaining a stroke on you, and it's usually the guy with the hair.
Yeah.
Paul Macbeth.
The question Jim asks is Fly Life. Fly Life is his disc golf company.
Yep.
He's had it for a few years now. He, I think, sponsors a few other players, but Fly Life is pretty much right now is an apparel company. Custom hot stamp discs and apparel. He doesn't produce any of his own discs per se. I don't know if he may at some point, but he has definitely ventured into a number of different disc manufacturers. I've heard everything from Trilogy. I know he's throwing some Legacy. I know he was throwing some MVP.
Yeah.
In years past, he's also thrown both Gateway, which he's probably still throwing. I know he's also thrown Innova, of course. I mean, has thrown or is throwing a mixed bag in a lot of ways.
And he does take a long time on almost every shot, especially putting.
I think that's one thing that we may see that might get cracked down upon moving forward with more media coverage is when more and more people notice that any individual takes 44 seconds to make a putt, takes, a minute and 10 seconds to make their next drive or whatever. And again, I don't know if it's fair or not, but as people are being able to watch it live or recorded, I think you're going to see, and Nico's notorious for taking a full 30 seconds, sometimes more, but he's notorious for taking a long time.
I'm going to buy a little plug-in for our system called the Shot Clock app.
Yeah, there you go.
So I can just start up the clock.
There you go. Yeah, that would be kind of funny to watch it. Just like when 30 seconds goes, and we'll see if he's released by then.
He's very.
And we're not just picking on Nico. There's a number of players that are very slow, that. But he's clearly one that gets covered quite a bit.
Yeah, he's on the lead card more often than not when we're seeing this, which is why it seems like it's Nico, but it is other golfers. Don't get me wrong. But his putting, when he sits there, like, you're just thinking, like, all right, dude, I get it. Line it up and put it in, man. So
yeah, and there's conversation as to the amount of time. And that goes back to players in the group have to call him on it. If he's genuinely breaking the 30-second rule to make his shot, then other players in the group need to call him on it, because that's where our rules are right now. His discs are expensive. Okay.
I've never looked at prices for his discs.
I mean, I'm guessing he takes...
I only buy my disc from the best seller in Wisconsin. Or
This guy.
I wait till he turns his back and I grab him.
He was slow. Meticulous is the word, but 40 seconds over a 10-footer. Craziness, Turbo Putt says. Nico's anger seems to sometimes affect the card, wondering why he doesn't get stroked for this. Like everything, judgment, calls or otherwise, they need to be called within the group.
I'll say this, there might be some quote-unquote strategy behind not calling him, because all those guys are probably waiting for the same thing a lot of people at home are waiting for, the Nico meltdown when he starts performing poorly, and they might see that and think, all right, let him go.
Get him there on his own.
Let him go, man. Just let him take those strokes, because it's only going to keep building, as opposed to possibly relieving some of that pressure by warning him or what they're doing. I don't know, because I'm never in that card or in that position, and never will be. It's not my deal. But that might be what I would be thinking at the time. Just like, all right, let's just wait, man. Because if it's not Nico, or it could be someone else, or whomever, but that could be one reason why you don't hear it called too.
Tell that to Will's 1035 rating. The hitch on Will is tough to watch. Could
saying
be
Will needs to work
1045.
on his putting. He does have a little hitch in it, but that seems to work for him most of the time.
Yeah, you know what? If I was rated 1035,
yeah, I'm not going to argue with Will when he's putting up well over 1,000 rated rounds. It's just that the other guy's putting up 1050 rated rounds.
Yeah,
that it sucks. And yes, Will does on occasion have a tendency to miss the ones that Paul doesn't. But Will's still hitting them more often than he's not, man. That he's good.
He certainly is. I don't know if I want to do that. No, I don't think I do. Grab me an outlaw? No. Will wins more than Yeti, so that's an interesting way to word it. Yeti, known as obviously one of the best putters on the planet.
Yep.
And he says Will wins more than Yeti, so that's that. There you go. That's one way to look at it. What does win championships? Is it putting? Is it driving? Or is it?
It's putting, I think.
Yeti can only putt back-to-back 1080.
Not true.
No,
not true. Jim Brown. Yeti proved with a round or two here that he still has some pretty solid drive in him, and he came to Wisconsin at our Manitowoc in the Park and made the final card, and can prove that he can still throw. He might not be able to throw as far as the rest of them, but he can throw pretty accurately. So
back-to-back 1081 rated rounds for Macbeth is hard to compete with. That's exactly it.
That's what we said. Yeah,
he's just got an extra gear that some players just can't simply achieve. Paige Pierce says go out and practice. But
do you think he'd admit to that, Paul, that he has an extra gear, or do you think he just is always at that gear and sometimes he's not there? Like, does he think he can kick it in more than the other guys, or I don't know. That's a funny way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think he feels like he has. Yeah, I think he kind of does feel like he knows he performs well under pressure.
Yeah,
he knows it, and he tells me he thrives for the pressure. Oh, yeah. Some people crack, and some people excel, and he knows he excels, and he is okay with it.
The funny part is, he clearly excelled under pressure, but then once the pressure was relieved, he didn't stop.
No, well then there's probably a comfort level.
Yeah, then it's like
maybe it's that gray zone that he doesn't like. I don't like only being up by 2 or 3.
Yeah,
like because when you're up by 10, you're on cruise control and everything.
And when you're down by 2 or 3,
you're like, I got to get going.
Yeah.
So, yes, as Jim says, he loves the pressure. William Buckley, I totally disagree with you. Putt for dough is one of the most false statements. Distance wins championships. I totally disagree with you. Sorry, completely disagree with you. Distance helps. You need to have distance.
I'll say this. This particular World's accuracy won you. Looked like it won.
Yeah, at places like Moraine.
You had to have, and then you clearly saw that, when it comes to slippery rock, Paul didn't necessarily have a disadvantage because he can throw a golf shot just as far as those guys, within feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sure, Will might outdrive him by 10, 15, 20 feet, but that's not making a difference on your second shot. But when it came to Moraine and Deer Lakes or whatever it is, Paul just consistently excels above those guys for the accuracy that he has. You rarely saw Paul hit an early tree. Like, he did it a couple times, but not very often. And when he did, he got ahead of it. So it wasn't really an early tree, but
well, yeah. So, and Big Germ is a much bigger thrower, much bigger thrower than Paul.
Yeah, no. And distance,
I've yet to see Big Germ in the Final Four. At Worlds,
distance would win championships if you were going up against schlubs like us. Then there's no way we can compete. But when everybody throws within 30 feet of each other, it's not the distance that's winning it. It's your accuracy, and then finally your putting.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's just fun to watch putt because he makes 60 and 70 footers look like they're 20 footers. Just the way the disc comes out of his hand, flattens out,
steady,
and then kind of falls in.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for Winthrop. Well, yeah, I don't know why Paul has had issues with Winthrop. I mean, and
it's not a matter of I just don't think he has excelled there yet. It's not like he goes there and plays bad.
No,
he just does. He hasn't gone there and excelled yet.
He has not put up the phenomenal.
Yeah, or put it all together for the entire round. But
although he does have the course record.
Exactly. Well, and if you also said to me, well, Paul's going to shoot 4 rounds of 15 under at Winthrop this year, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I'd believe that. I mean, I just think it's a matter of time. Fair or not. It's just a matter of time.
Well, I heard that's where he's going after Ledgestone. It's just what he's going to do.
I feel like it's a matter of time before he just does that. I'm not an odds maker, or I don't know how that works, but I almost think it's undeniable. I mean, with the skill sets that he produces, I think it's a numbers game that he's going to get one.
Not to play favorites, but I so want him to do it this year because I so want him to see him sweep the majors.
Yeah,
I think it's a very cool thing that, as far as I know, no one has done.
Ask Felberg, he'd know.
Yeah, Felberg would know. But so I think that would be kind of cool to see somebody do that. That's the only reason I want to see him do it this particular year. I don't doubt he's going to put one or multiple ones under his belt in the next 5 years.
Sure.
But this is the year I'd love to see him do it.
Yeah, it will certainly be interesting. Did I see Jenny Cook logged in earlier? Thanks, Jenny, for joining us. We have all of our normal regulars out here. Jim Brown, Wade, as in WT Force, Jeremiah Roy, and so many others. I think we're going to wrap up things here relatively soon. I gotta finish up my laundry.
You only got one load in.
Well, the other one's drying or
washing.
Washing should be. It's a small one, so it'll dry quickly. Yep. And I got to get packed. I might be going to Nantucket.
Maybe.
So maybe not. No, it was that would be kind of fun. I've just heard so much about the course, and again, it was my fault. There was a lapse in communication back and forth. But with all the skins and all the other stuff they have going on,
you can't be everywhere.
I know.
You can try.
I can try. Be everywhere all the time. Some of the times. We'll see. Thanks for the autograph at the GBO. You're welcome, Brian. I was super flattered.
Byron.
Byron? What did I say? Brian?
Brian.
Oh, thank you, Byron. Yes, you're welcome, Byron. Super flattered. I probably did 20 or 30 autographs this last week. I always feel awkward.
Yeah.
Because you see like good people on there. Like, oh, I'll sign right next to Paul McBath. Oh, Paige Pierce right next to her.
Yeah.
But no, thank you guys. It was cool. It was. I'm humbled and honored anytime somebody wants my autograph on a disc. So, Turbo Putt, we know you're always out there. We appreciate it. Good night. Thanks for answering your 2 big questions. Now you can sleep without tossing and turning. Man,
I don't know what his 2 big questions were.
Well, we must have answered them.
I'm glad we did.
Is Turbo Putt? Are you usually saying we ignore your questions? I know there's a few people that think we.
Seti, that was always.
Is it Seti?
Seti was always.
No Seti tonight.
No, he was on.
Was he?
He was on earlier.
Oh, he's probably just scoping out so he can go join the DG Weekly guys.
DG Weekly.
Wait, what happened to Flyline? Their podcast. Weren't they doing one or 2?
Who?
Flyline. Not Fly Life. that's Nico. Fly Line had a podcast of sorts. I think it was similar to what we were doing. I know he had reached out to me at one point. I know there was one or two or three.
Don't know.
Well, let's go find it because I think there is one out there. Get some gear made, that logo figured out, and print that stuff. Thank you. We will work on it. You got home from Doubles League, crack a few, and show up here. Good to hear, Jim. We're glad we're here for you.
Yep.
TG Weekly, you false hogs. The question about Paige, how she felt about Crazy, was the big one.
Yeah, and I think it had to be addressed because it was a big. And again, I'm not trying to rip on Crazy or how he did his interviews or how he does his commentary. I just wanted Paige's opinion because it was a hot question that so many people got on Crazy about, saying that they felt that it was inappropriate, and I didn't necessarily feel that.
No, I mean, and a lot of people have asked me how I would do it.
And it's so hard to say without being there. You can't recreate that situation. I just thought that Crazy could have asked a question, seen that she wasn't able to answer it, and probably gracefully gotten out of there. Is my thought. Even watching, I like the immediate interview after putting in the putt.
Yeah.
But I can understand why it should not happen.
Yeah.
They should be back.
All right. Well, anyway, I think we can come back and then we can just call it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
Are you?
I'm not doing anything this time. Oh, maybe.